This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, we review the greatest 80s Brat Pack movie ever, The Breakfast Club. Plus, Superman set photos give us a real good look at the new suit. The Penguin on Max has a new teaser and a release date. More details of the mess that is Marvel's Blade movie. Reactions to episode 4 of The Acolyte and The Boys, and episode 2 of House of the Dragon, and more, all in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Monday, June 24th, 2024.
This is Jason Musin. For reasons best left between you and your therapist, you're listening to the Jock and Nerd Podcast. Snooch to the nooch. Check. Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up.
Hello, what is up, listener? Thank you for pressing play, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd Podcast, where we give you comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
And joining us, he's a maxi Zoom dweeby, and just finished serving detention at Showrunner High School. Which is weird because he doesn't even go there. Drug boy. Rugs.
Yeah, I got detention for putting duct tape on my own asshole.
Yeah, I know. You should not be.
I was trying to get myself a Brazilian.
Yes. So they just gave you detention. There was no one to. You should be nowhere near high school's, Rugs. I thought there was a court order. I don't know what happened.
Well, you can't stop. You can't stop the rebel from doing things. Yeah.
Well, as Rug Boy plucks the duct tape.
I think that's what being a Zoom dweeby is.
That's a maxi Zoom dweeby. Yes, I don't know. I've never heard that term even in the 80s, but
I don't think anyone's ever said it outside that movie.
So, probably not. Probably not. Ruggs, I hope your slack hole is okay. Get the rest of the duct tape off. You'll be fine.
There's still a little left.
In the meantime, we got some geek news, fun things to discuss, a movie to review. Let's get into it.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
Sort of breaking news posted today. Let's head on over to Cleveland, Ohio, fellas, which is been turned into Metropolis as Superman is shooting. And we have set photos of the Corn Sweat in the suit. Pretty good set photos provided by justjared.com and a bunch of other places. Not only Superman, Mr. Terrific also. But so we had that one picture where he was all dirty and he was like taking his boots on or off while stuff was going on. Very weird. Now we get some clear set photos of this suit, and it's bright. There's trunks. Anthony, thoughts? What do you think about the suit now in the daylight, in the unflattering light of day, as set photos usually are?
Let's go with this. The good and the bad. The good, they brought the trunks back, and it doesn't look terrible.
Trunks.
I like the colors. I like brighter colors, and he looks appropriately tall and jacked and has good hairstyle. The bad, I would say, lots of weird lines around the shoulders for some reason.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, and hopefully these are set photos of someone, these are people taking pictures on the side. This isn't like official set photos. Right. So I'm hoping they can get rid of this in post, but I just don't like the bunching of the suit and the way it fits him.
Yeah.
Like in the chest and in the ribs. Hopefully that's fixed with CGI, because right now the way the suit fits right now, it doesn't flatter his body like, past Superman, Batman suits, any sort of suits. You don't really see that kind of bunching.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest criticism for me.
Yeah, it does kind of fold in on itself, and it's kind of loose in the midsection. It is kind of weird, like where it should be defined by abs. And then the Mr. Terrific costume, Mr. Terrific played by Edie Gathegi, who I know from For All Mankind on Apple TV Plus. He's great. His Mr. Terrific suit looks right out of the comics with the, what does it say on his sleeve? Fair play. He's got the makeup on. That looks pretty good. Rugs, comments on seeing this suit now.
Well, pretty much what Anthony said is true. Remember, like Captain America's first costume, and it was just a little too busy, a little bit too non-form fitting, a little too bulky. This sort of reminds me of. It gives me that vibe of it. They just didn't get it right, and then they finally got that suit right in the third movie, right? Or in the
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah.
So, it just looks like it's weird. When I saw the promo picture, the official picture, we all pointed out that it looked like it was ill-fitting.
Yeah, even in that thing.
So I think that this is what it's going to look like. I don't think any kind of lighting is going to save the fact that it's wrinkly.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have to go in and post and digitally erase all the. Who wants to do that?
Well,
That's stupid.
Marvel did that with Anthony Mackie's suit, the white suit around the neck. But that's a lot of work. You literally have to go in, like every time he's on screen, and tighten it up. The lines, I don't know if I'm a big fan of. It does kind of remind me of like the Guardians of the Galaxy outfits from the last movie. I wonder if he's got the same costume designer, if they're even reusing some of the material from that movie.
I don't know. This is just, and I don't like the collar either.
It's too bright. It's not dark enough. What?
No, I don't like that. There's blue around the collar. I like that. I like the whole.
The collar is different. It's a little different than the other photo too.
Yeah. It looks a little different, but I like the way that Cavill's collar was the best out of all of them, because it kind of like gave you that Roman centurion vibe.
Yeah,
it had like these bunched, and they had this bunched cape that kind of made his shoulders look a little bit bigger, and the fact that you could see like a little bit more of his neck and the top of his chest. It's always that's a Superman like trademark. Yeah. This is kind of reminds me of when they did that reboot a while back. Remember when they did the reboot and he had all those fucking diamonds on his suit and all that, all those lines?
Yeah. Oh, in the comics?
The New 52.
Yeah. There's a little New 52 of the lines that really didn't make any sense, but they were.
It's just not very flattering, but who knows? They're going to CG the fuck out of it, but it just looks weird to me that it doesn't make you feel encouraged to see when you see like obvious things that look weird in the suit. So and it's not a stuntman suit.
Right. I mean, it's different, right? It's hard. I get it. Like you had Cavill's suit, which is it's a really good suit, and he looks great.
Think about Cavill's suit, even fucking Brandon Routh's suit, Christopher Reeve's suit, was actual material, and it still was for better form fitting.
Yeah,
but and I know he's jacked. He's been working out, and his arms are huge. So I wonder why this thing is so baggy.
I think the material is thicker. It looks like.
Yeah.
So it looks like because it's so thick, even if it's form fitting, when it's that thick, it's going to bunch up like that whenever you're not standing just completely straight.
And on his forearms, it looks like there's like a piece of some kind of armor on top, like as like a half a gauntlet on top. It's very strange. But there's a cape here. Remember how like every time in all the Zack Snyder movies, like the cape was always CGI'd in later, like all the behind the scenes, he was never have cape. At least we got a real cape. The cape also has the yellow S on the back, which is nice. But Trunks makes it completely different from the last few suits we've had. Oh, I hope it looks better on screen. Of course, like we said, it's just set photos, but very, very bright, very good look.
It really looks loose. I feel like they should just vacuum seal him in there.
Yeah, right. It should be like like saran, like suck it in and tie. Like, did you not? Is there air flowing through? I don't know what's going on. But there's your Superman. There's your car and sweat. Listener, let us know.
There's a shot where you can see it in the light, where you see the back, a little bit back of the cape.
Yep.
You can see that it's all like this raised stuff, this raised piping.
Yeah, and like all kind of armory almost, which like Superman, you don't need the shoulder padding.
It's a little much. It's like Captain America 1.
Yeah. No, make it simple. Listener, let us know what you think about this suit. You can join this conversation. Join our Facebook group. It's called Jock and Nerd Nation. Jock and Nerd. There is a link in the episode description. Exclusive closed group just for you. All right, sticking with Warner Brothers DC for a second. We have a trailer, another trailer for the Penguin show, spinning off of Matt Reeves' The Batman, and a release time frame, September. This is coming out in September. Anthony, you watched this teaser with the Colin Farrell in the fat suit?
No.
You didn't watch it?
No.
You should watch it.
I'm watching it now. You guys talk about it.
Bruggs, what did you think of this?
It looks pretty good.
Right?
It doesn't look horrible. It looks like maybe a slight step down from the movie, but
right,
it's a television version of the movie.
Correct.
So there is that little bit of a step down, but also it looks pretty good, though. It looks pretty faithful to that universe. Christine Milioti is going to be the other Falcone.
Sophia Falcone. I love Christine Milioti. She's great.
And yeah, she's a good actress, and I feel like she's probably a good foil. So I'm looking forward to see what happens.
So are we rooting for, like, what's the
so I don't know. It seems like
the protagonist.
Yeah, they're setting up a conflict between the Penguin versus the Sophia Falcone for Gotham's underworld or crime world. I don't know who you're rooting for, but also on top of that, it gives me very Sopranos vibes here.
Yeah,
in terms of the gritty gangster shit. The Gotham set looks amazing. I like in the beginning, they're showing shots from the Batman and the flooded streets, and he's like, look at what this madman did. But, like, is he talking about the Riddler? Or is he talking about Batman? Who does he blame? Who does Gotham blame? All very interesting. Anthony, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think the when you said the Sopranos, that felt spot on. It felt like, modern day in the Batman universe, like this crime family thing. I did enjoy Colin Farrell as Penguin.
It's great.
A lot of it because I'm just going, how the fuck is that Colin Farrell?
Yeah.
So, I thought he was an interesting character in the Batman movie. Yeah, I think, so far it doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look like Imran's favorite show, The Acolyte. So
you take that back. Those space witches are the best thing that's happened to Star Wars.
No, it looks good.
It's got the.
I'm not super pumped about it, but it does look good.
It looks fucking good. The orange tone and palette from like the Batman is there, and it looks gritty, and it's HBO. Usually, the shows are good. The production is there. I'm excited. September. We're going to check out the Penguin. Moving on, I have some more follow-up details about the Blade movie. I can't stop talking about it. We did Blade Trinity. What the fuck happened? Last week, we discussed the news. Jan Demange has left. Blade does not have a director. 5 years after Mahershala Ali is announced as Blade at San Diego Comic-Con. So, Hollywood Reporter put out this interesting article called Why Blade Can't Cut Through Development Hell. Here's some things I learned from this article, fellas. The article states Mahershala Ali is now getting frustrated. When we've seen... yeah, but you said, Anthony, you read a thing where he's like, oh no, I'm still fully on board. But everybody has their limits. Turns out, after they lost the first director, Bassam Tariq, Marvel presented Mahershala Ali with a list of directors, but he's like, I'm going to find my own directors. He just ignored their list and apparently has a lot of influence over this project, which is kind of an odd thing for a Marvel project here. They state that this influence started when Ali called them and said he wants to be Blade. He says, it says Ali has envisioned Blade as his Black Panther, according to sources. So he called them and said, I want to be Blade. This is my Black Panther. Very interesting. The article also states because of the strikes and the cutting back of projects at Disney, it kind of got lost and people stopped paying attention to it, kind of slipped through the cracks. One guy says it's a casualty of the too much era. So they mentioned the version they were going to shoot last year was going to be set in the 20s, the 1920s. Featured Mia Goth as a vampire named Lilith. She was going to be a villain who wanted the blood of Blade's daughter.
And Fraser Crane.
And Lilith and Frasier. From Frasier.
That's right.
Apparently, Mia Goth is still attached to star in the Blade movie. She's going to be in Maxine, I think, next week. That's interesting. And for another version, they had built a big train set. The train set was never used. And the current take now set in the present day. Here's another interesting bit.
They built a big train set.
Yeah, look, I mentioned the train set because if you think about all the shit that they've been going through, the question in my head is like, how many fucking millions of dollars have they already spent on this bullshit without even shooting a thing? The other thing it mentions during the writer's strike, and recently they lost a bunch of actors. They had to let a lot of the actors go, one of them being Delroy Lindo.
That's unfortunate.
Now, yes, it is unfortunate, but I think he has been poached by another director because apparently Ryan Coogler's next movie, he's teaming up with Michael B. Jordan, and the rumor is his next movie is a vampire movie. It's a movie that's going to bring vampires to the Jim Crow era, and Delroy Lindo, I think, is cast in that movie, projected to come out March of 2025. So I feel like Ryan Coogler poached Lindo and is trying to get a vampire movie out before Blade, and it'll probably happen, which is kind of nuts. So all of this being said, these things about Mahershala Ali, we talked about this in the Discord last week, and like we were all,
such a fun Discord. I was glad to join.
Yes, you motherfucker. You weren't there, but if you were there, you would have heard we kind of came to the question of, is maybe Mahershala Ali the problem?
Oh, interesting.
If you recasted him with anybody else, would this movie get made with no issues? I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad, or if he's the only one holding it to some kind of standard, or it sounds like he's turning into like Wesley Snipes a little bit.
Oh God!
I mean, not to that extent.
Well, I wanted him to be like Wesley Snipes, but not like that.
Not like that.
I want him to say cool shit.
What do you think about all this, Anthony?
Well, as Rim Brown would say, I think there's a lot of I think there's multiple things in play here. One, it was kind of made backwards, right? Mahershala Ali was the one that's like, hey, I want to do Blade. Yeah. There wasn't a story in place. There wasn't even anyone. It doesn't sound like, from what you're saying, anyone at Marvel was even had Blade on their radar until Ali. So, you're trying to craft a story to please him rather than it being like, hey, we have a great story and now we want an awesome actor to encompass this role. So there's that. There also is the casualty of this too much. They were throwing a million things out on screen, and this was one of the things. And the quality control suffered, and things fell apart now multiple times. I think also what you have to factor in is, because stuff's been probably, the stuff that Marvel's been rolling out has been mediocre, to say the least. A lot of their properties, I'm sure Mahershala Ali is like, I don't want that for this. So he's probably got a stronger opinion on how this should go. So I think there's a lot of things in play here. I don't really understand why you would have said it in the 20s, other than just to make it different. Yeah, and bring in like his daughter and. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last week or the week before. It should be pretty easy to make a Blade movie. But I don't even know if I want to see a Blade movie at this point. I know, and again, I said last week, if this comes out with Ali in it, I will be shocked. But I like that Mia Goth is still attached. She's well known in the horror community. So there was that whole Jordan Peele thing. I don't think he put out a thing with a date about his next movie. It's like October 2026. I don't think it's Blade. So I don't think that's happening. Ruggs, any other comment about this crazy production hell?
We talked about it 1,000 times. It's basically, it's poison at this point. Yeah, can you easily make a Blade movie? Of course. But if Ali is the problem, I think that Marvel's the problem. I think there's a lot of problems here. There's a lot of people that are not trying to get to the end of this. So I think Ali may have his own designs on what he wants to happen. Marvel's got probably conflicting designs. There's the fact that any director that's attached to this now is going to get scrutinized. Yeah. Because the criticism coming against Disney is harsh now, because we're in this era where like they're making things kind of with the wrong intent. So I don't know. It's a very dark time at Marvel to make anything good. And I don't think this movie's going to happen. I think Eventually, they're going to get rid of all these.
I feel like
much time has passed.
I feel like they need to just scrap this and put
too much baggage.
I'm going to make a plea right now, Imran.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Blade unless they release set photos.
We're done until we see something.
because we've talked about this for 5 years.
I know.
And nothing has happened. And
just lately...
This is the definition of beating a dead horse.
Yeah. It's just, them losing a director. I was just fascinated again and this stuff coming out. But we're done. Let's talk about the other Blade.
It is fascinating, but it doesn't deserve any attention until they get serious about actually making a movie.
Yeah. Speaking of Wesley,
some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Some interesting rumors for Deadpool and Wolverine cameo appearances. Now, apparently, some people have spotted in the trailer in the background possibly a character that looks like Blade, but like Blade from the TV show, the Sticky Fingers Blade. There's a guy wearing kind of the same coat and stuff. But Scooper, my time to shine, hello, on X. Take this for what it's worth. I don't know if this is a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
It says Wesley Snipes Blade will appear in Deadpool and Wolverine, which will be really interesting because we just did, what the fuck happened to Blade Trinity. We know those two did not get along. Ryan Reynolds or Wesley and like anybody else on the set of that fucking movie. But I wonder if they've made up and they're friends and they make fun of it. What do you guys think? You think he will show up? I guess there's a possibility of anybody showing up in this movie. But Wesley Snipes' Blade would be awesome.
That would that'd be a hell of a cameo, that's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to make of that. That would be, I don't know what you would do to even do with that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just.
I'd be surprised. I don't know what the scene would be or like.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he in the void? Because the clip that people thought they saw him is that shot in the void with all those X-Men in the background.
Oh.
So maybe it's just all the variants of different characters are walking around. But it'd be great. He could talk about ice skating and snowmobiling and whatever other winter sports he wants to talk about. Luging and curling.
Yeah, what winter sport is he going to talk about in the movie?
It's just all metaphors for cocaine.
Can we make a prediction of like what Wesley Snipes winter-themed reference
I'm
was
going
to
speed skate all up and down your face, motherfucker. I don't know. I think they're all veiled references to cocaine also. Every time he talks about ice skating uphill. Okay, last pair of stories in the news, and I bring these up to show you kind of the difference in some studios and how they operate. We talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds talk about the one thing Marvel said they couldn't do. The one line they didn't want him to cross. He's essentially said they let me do whatever I wanted to do, except for one thing. Can anyone guess, without reading the article, what that one thing would be? I want to see if you can guess.
No dick jokes?
That's not it. Ruggs, what's your guess?
Oh, I don't know. I would say they have to steer clear of making any kind of joke at a protected class.
That wasn't it either. He
no
said,
boobies?
No, it wasn't that. He says the one thing they didn't want him to do was overt drug use. That was it. Which is why in the trailer, they have that whole little sequence with him and Blind L talking about, like, Feige said we can't talk about coke. It's one thing on his list. Like, they wrote it into the movie because they told them they can't do overt drug use. Kind of funny. Now, let's look at the boys over at Amazon. Eric Kripke clearly getting away with a lot of things on this show. But there was one thing Amazon asked him to tone down for season 4. Again, any guesses?
Hitler jokes? I don't know.
Nope.
Gaddafi jokes?
Muammar? Well, come on. Why are you making fun of Muammar Gaddafi? No, the one thing was they were like, can we have less octopus fucking? That's all we asked.
Oh,
yes.
It seems like there's going to be some in this one, too.
They said bestiality is a tricky line for the standards. If you could just not have any octopus
let's fucking not do it.
That would be great.
Quick boys comment. I haven't seen episode 4 yet, but they should have told him to tone down all his like overt political views.
No. So Eric
just be like, hey man, people want to be entertained. You did this really subtle. I don't know if has he always been the guy for the show?
Yes, Kripke since the
Yeah,
beginning.
but I think he was kind of poking fun at everything in general.
Yeah.
But this seems just like
he used to be a little more clever about it, and now he's just like, I'm just going to copy everything and be like,
it's like way too directly ripped off the headlines.
Yeah.
It's not even subtle, or it's not even like baked into the story. They're just overtly just doing things.
He's just overtly giving his political view in the entire show.
No, and he said in interviews when the show came out, I forgot to mention it last week, but he's
like, don't watch it.
Yes, he's like, if it's too political, he's like, I don't give a fuck, don't watch it. That's fine. He is not apologizing.
And that's always worked for anyone that's ever said that.
Yeah.
It's like instant kryptonite to your
It's like,
show.
whatever. Don't watch it.
Didn't that kill the one girl in the comics? The girl, the Gail Simone, wasn't?
Oh, it's Kelly Sue DeConnick.
Kelly Sue.
Well, I'm not writing them for you. Oh, well, great. Thanks.
Kripke is
just patronize your audience.
He's not afraid to lose viewers. Clearly has a message that he wants to get across.
The thing that mystifies me is that one of the reasons that we like 80s movies so much, or we like, not that they're great movies, but they know their audience. They know that it's a bunch of guys that are sitting around watching guy movies.
Right.
So they make the movies for guys.
Right.
And imagine you take over something that's made pretty much for guys, and then you just like fucking shit on them the whole time.
No, but you can argue,
or even shit on like 50% of them.
But he's making the show for liberals. I don't know. That's it. Like, that's the same thing as making it for guys. He's making it for this one side, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's a choice, but then
it's a choice. It's his choice.
You're going to alienate half of your audience.
Well, I think that's most of your. It's not even that. It's just like I think that if you the show.
Yeah,
I think that you can make a political show. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
but I feel like that it becomes a parody of itself when all the shows are doing it, and then everybody's doing it. Like you watch SNL, they're doing it.
Yes.
Like everywhere, every single angle is giving you this one look at it, and it's fine. But like. It just becomes like a little bit tired, you know?
Yeah.
And then you go to like watch House of the Dragon, and there's none of that in there, and you could just escape,
right?
You know,
I mean,
even if it's baked into like the subplot or undertones of it,
right?
It's never like, they're doing January 6th here, or they're doing Pizzagate here, or they're doing whatever, and it's supposed to be a parody, I guess, the show. But I think it was done more cleverly. It's just
I 100% agree. The first at least the first couple of years, even season 3, I thought they did it a lot more tastefully, and they were making fun of.
Yeah,
they were poking fun at things, but doing it in their like boys' way. Whereas this one's just like, we're just going to rip things that are happening and throw them in here.
Well, this is the thing. There is this way of so you go and you're creating a populist feeling show.
Right.
About rising up against power.
Right.
All right.
Right.
The minute that you start to specify who's got the power and why it's bad to a degree, then you're alienating people, right?
Yeah.
If you're saying it's like insert these people here are the oppressors, and then it's too much like what's it's I think it stops being clever.
Well, as you mentioned too. As I'm thinking about this, like what made the show, and again, I haven't watched episode 4, and the season has a ton of time. Maybe it'll turn itself around, and I'll love it. But what made the show get on everyone's radar was that it was so off kilter, right? Like it was so off the beaten path. Like it was a superhero show, but it subverted all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was irreverent, and it was lewd, and it had fun ties to things that were going on, and poked fun at everything. But then. Now where it's at is it's doing what everything else is doing. So it's not differentiating itself anymore. It's the same as what you can watch on, like you said, SNL
or She-Hulk.
Right. Or She-Hulk. Yeah. So it went from like fucking Bender.
Yeah.
in fucking, or not even Bender, the goth girl.
Breakfast Club, Allison.
To like the popular person.
Well, it was like Allison's transformation, how they transformed her.
Yeah, now it's like, but this is now
kind of like what happened to Howard Stern.
Different.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Remember Howard Stern used to fucking do all this crazy shit, and now he's kind of like really on the safe side of everything. It's like he has naked guys on his show all the time, but never naked girls anymore. And that's all his show used to be, right? So he's completely switched it around, and it's fine. Like, it's still funny, but like, it's not as he's basically done exactly that thing that you're talking about, the Breakfast Club. He made that transformation from being the outsider to being pick me. I want to be in the cool club.
Be assimilated.
I also think there's when you make something, I think this is somewhat just inevitable about the human condition.
Yeah.
But when you like have a hit and you do like, and you made something that was different, and then you were able to replicate that, a couple seasons.
Yeah.
I think sometimes your ego gets really big, and you're like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And it's going to turn into gold. And then you almost have this like exactly how he's portrayed himself now, where he's like, well, if you don't like it, don't watch. Or it's like probably like in the first season, he probably would have never said anything like that.
Right. Because you want everybody to give it a chance.
Right.
But is it that huge where he can do that? He clearly has made a conscious decision this season to double down on the
if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score is way different than the.
Well, people review bombing that too, just like the Acolyte, because it's getting too fucking political, or because they realize, wait a minute, Homelander's not the good guy. What the fuck? You tricked me.
He never was.
No, he never was. Some people did not catch on for numerous years.
I don't think you needed it. Homelander not being like, people rooting for Homelander is not the problem with the show.
No. So even in episode 4, we'll talk about a little bit later. What are we watching? They bring up another thing, which was a recent hot button topic in politics in America. They've added another thing on top of all the things they've already are just doing straight from the news. But I agree, they're just doing the news. It's very weird. All right. Anyways, let's take a break here. We're going to play some promos. We're going to come back and venture back into the 80s for the ultimate teen angst experience that is The Breakfast Club. Right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Attention podcast listeners and YouTube watchers. I'm Logan, the host of Mostly Superheroes, a weekly pursuit for the world's best stories with an emphasis on live-action superhero stuff. Every week, join me, PC Mike, The Giggler, Scotty Scoop, and Carrie as we talk MCU, DCU, books, TV, movies, and more. MostlySuperheroes.com is where you want to be. Watch us on YouTube, listen where you get your podcast, and we'll see you Sunday on Patreon. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, maybe I should see what this Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage since you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So whether you know the comics and want to know how all these games work, or you know the games and want to find out where all this craziness came from, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Jock and Nerd.
Listener, if you enjoy this show, might I recommend that this is the best time to join our Patreon fan club. Just visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Jock and Nerd. And you can give back on a monthly or annual basis for all the bullshit we've been spitting out in your ear holes for so many years. But everybody gets stuff. There's tiers to pick. You get access to an exclusive podcast feed where the shows come out early, bonus content, bonus episode, instant reactions to movies. You can join us on our monthly Discord hangouts. We just had one last week. It was lots of fun. The next one will be July 18th.
Please join us, people. What are you guys doing, all you Patreons?
Yes, it is. The next one is just a week before Deadpool Wolverine comes out, and then the one after that, we can all talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. Join us on the Thursday, once a month. Lots of other fun stuff over at the Patreon. Click the link. Give it a visit. All right, let's get to this week's review. We are going back to the 80s, and we are going to be revisiting The Breakfast Club. Anthony,
yes.
How did we end up picking this movie?
Well,
1985's The Breakfast Club.
Well, this is because if you listen to the end of last week's episode, Imran decided to watch the Brat Pack documentary on Hulu.
Yes, Brats.
And we went on a discussion about the Brat Pack and who it consists of and the best movies from there. And we don't have anything to review this week. We could have talked about Bad Boys or something like that, but we were like, let's review a Brat Pack movie. And then Imran was like, the best Brat Pack movie is The Breakfast Club. So then we reviewed that.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're at.
That's awesome. I'm super excited. Here's your spoiler alerts, I guess, for a 39-year-old movie.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
You can't spoil this movie. Breakfast Club, currently on Netflix. No, I was very geeked. I was very geeked because this movie holds very near and dear to my heart. I got a lot of nostalgia. It is one of those coming of age, rites of passage movies. I feel you've got to watch if you're a teenager, and I think these kids still do. Hopefully, on Rotten Tomatoes, the movie has an 89% tomato meter and 92% audience rating. This movie was made for $1 million. $1 million. Ends up making $51.5 million at the box office.
Oh, shit.
And being like a really big hit, like not bad for $1 million. Of course, this is written, produced, and directed by the late, great John Hughes. He had, at this point, he had already done one movie, Pretty in Pink.
1985, right?
Yeah, 1985. Pretty in Pink.
You want to get a lay of the land for? Here, go talk about Pretty in Pink.
Yeah,
real quick.
16 Candles was the movie he did. Pretty in Pink.
No, it's confusing with John Hughes because he liked to write a lot and he couldn't direct and write at the same time. So he just like handpicked a few of them to direct, and then the rest he would work with this other guy that did like a very John Hughes like impression of him.
Yeah. So the last movie,
the first movie that came out for John Hughes that he actually directed was 16 Candles.
16 Candles, 1984.
The first movie he wrote, it was in 82, National Lampoon's Class Reunion.
Yes, that one, and that's the one that kind of blew him up and got him a bunch of gigs. But director-wise, this is quite a run. He does 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, She's Having a Baby, Uncle Buck, and then Curly Sue in 1991, and then that's the last one. But that's quite a run of.
Not sure anyone remembers Curly Sue.
I remember.
I watched that.
I remember Curly Sue. James Belushi.
It had the girl from Roadhouse was in it.
Yes, and it took place in Chicago. I was very excited.
Yeah,
and that was kind of like it was trying to be like a Home Alone knockoff, kind of, right? Little kid. And,
well, he wrote Home Alone. I believe.
Yes. Did he write it?
He wrote
a lot of movies. He wrote more movies than he directed.
100%.
Yeah, prolific guy.
And that guy Douche, who was his director, he made like John Hughes movies. He just made movies with John Hughes.
So, we were talking about the Brat Pack, and really they owe a lot to John Hughes because it was kind of mostly him giving him. There was other ones. There was other directors, and we could talk about that. But I feel like John Hughes had a big part in making the Brat Pack.
Well, he had a production company. They made a lot of movies with those same guys. So
yeah. The rest of the cast is, of course, Emilio Estevez as the Jock Andrew, the athlete, the wrestler. Judd Nelson as John Bender, criminal. Molly Ringwald as Claire Standish, the princess. You got Ali Sheedy as Allison Reynolds, the basket case. Anthony Michael Hall as Brian Johnson, the brain. And playing the principal, Paul Gleason, or vice principal, Mr. Vernon. And also you got a janitor, John Kapelos Carl. There's your main cast. John Hughes does make a cameo in this movie. Actually. This movie released February 15th, 1985 and rated R.
Speaking of 1985,
yes.
These are the. So do you have any guesses on what 45 million for the Breakfast Club, where that would have ranked in 1985?
Fourth?
In 1985?
Ruggs was fourth. What do you got, Imran?
I'm going to go lower.
Okay. Well,
6.
I guess you thought. Okay. No, 13th.
Oh, shit. It was way low.
So I'll give you the movies ahead of it real quick, just so we can go in the Wayback Machine. Yeah. Number 1 with 190 million, Back to the Future.
Of course.
2, Beverly Hills Cop. 3, Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Nice.
Oh my God.
4, Rocky 4.
Oh, wow.
5 is Cocoon, which I've never heard of in my life.
Oh, that's a really great movie. Wilford Brimley.
6, Witness.
Harrison Ford.
7, The Goonies.
Wow.
8, Police Academy 2. 9, Fletch. Never heard of that.
Fletch, Chevy Chase.
10, View to Kill.
James Bond.
11,
James Bond.
National Lampoon's European Vacation.
European Vacation.
12, Mask. And then 13, The Breakfast Club.
And then The Breakfast Club. All right.
Well, other movies that you would that have lived the test or stood the test of time in that year include Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes.
Classic.
E.T. Oh, this was a re-release though.
Oh,
excuse
okay.
me. So
Yeah.
E.T. Scratch that.
Yeah.
Commando
Yes.
came out that year. And Teen Wolf.
Yes. Man, what a time. It's Stallone.
Amongst other movies. There's
This
a lot
is
of other movies too.
It's like peak Stallone, right? And then there's all these action movies, but then you have all these teen, young adult movies doing really well, which is great. So, yes, rated R, 1 hour, 37-minute, great runtime. Anthony, what happens? First of all, you've seen Breakfast Club before. What happens in it?
So I when I was on my movie tour in the earlier in this decade, Breakfast Club, I first saw it about 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
For the first time ever.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
So plot, but I did rewatch it for this. Plot is there are 5 high school kids in Illinois that are in detention on a Saturday, and they're all from different walks of life. You've got an athlete, a prom queen, a criminal, a nerd, and like a weird gothy girl.
Yeah.
That are all locked in a room, and they have to spend a Saturday in detention with each other and write about who they think they are.
Who do you think you are?
And they learn about each other and their differences and all that kind of shit.
It is one day in detention. All right, so you watched this for the first time 4 years ago. That is very interesting because I believe I saw this maybe when I was like 12 or 13. And I've seen it many, many times. Ruggs, what's your history with this movie?
I remember it being very popular in high school, and people would watch it over and over again and actually act things out from it.
Yes, a lot of quotes, a lot of lines.
Yeah, a lot of quotes.
Great.
A lot of, So it was part of my upbringing.
Yeah.
I've watched it when it was on cable every once in a while.
It's on AMC right now, actually.
I would catch it on cable every once in a while and enjoy it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I'm watching it as an adult now, as like an old man. Yeah. I still like it, but I see it differently.
Do you relate more to Vernon, maybe, than Bender?
I just think that the whole movie is just all these kids blaming their parents for everything. And I'm like, and you have like, okay, you basically like no matter what you do, like you spoil your kid, you ignore your kid, you want your kid to be, you're always an asshole.
Yeah.
So it's like how it would have been cool to have a little bit more. I don't know. It seemed too simple as a way, like why your life sucks because of your parents. But I guess you have to be that in your teenager.
Well, it is from the lens of a teenager.
Yeah.
So you would think that. So I do see what you're saying though, for sure. And I have some strong thoughts on this movie.
So let's start there, Anthony, because I feel like now watching it there, some of it hasn't aged well, but there are some timeless conversations in this movie that still relate today. Watching it 4 years ago for the first time, what was your initial reaction?
Well, I also will throw in, and you guys can vouch for this if you'd like, because I did some research on the movie. And one of the big things, because you have to transport yourself back to that time, too. And I think at that time, a lot of movies that with teenagers were pretty one note. Like you look at like Animal House or something where it's like this kid acts like this because he's a jock. He acts like this because he's a nerd. This kid, it was very one note, where this was the first movie to be like, or one of the first to be like, we have these stereotypes of what we are, but we're going to like dive deeper into that and dive into like what really makes them tick and why they are the way they are.
Well, there's
like kind of the thing, kind of the moral of the whole movie.
Yeah, I can support that point with Roger Ebert's review. There's one line in there, and this is from 1985. He gave it 3 stars. He goes, most Hollywood teenage movies give us underage nymphos or nostalgia-drenched memories of the 1950s. That's what was being made.
Right.
And this was a whole new wave of young Hollywood.
Yep. So when I watched it 4 years ago, I thought it was all right. I thought it was a little overrated, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
I thought when I saw it, I was like, it's good, but I've seen plenty of things with, damaged kids. And I thought at that time, I wrote this even on Letterboxd. I went, are we really just cool with Bender just sexually assaulting Claire?
Bender.
Now that I've watched it 4 years later, I found I was much more entertained this go around. I did laugh a lot more. I kind of forgot a lot of the beats. So I kind of liked it for what it was. I do think there's some, iconic stuff in there. And we can get into it. I still have a lot of problems with the Bender-Claire relationship and how that plays out. I don't think I can ever wrap my head around that being like a cool relationship.
It was
the way
the
that
80s.
arc happens.
It was the 80s.
I don't think that's a great arc for Claire to be like, I'm just going to get sexually assaulted, have my
does she bang him?
Just thrown out there.
Does she bang him in the club when she visits him at the end? Do you think, or they just
have him like berate me until I cry, and then I'm going to bang him in the closet.
Girls love bad boys.
Yeah,
they do. It's not written very eloquently. I'll just say that. But overall, I had actually a really good time with the movie. My favorite character was Anthony. Is it Brian Michael Johnson? Anthony Michael Johnson.
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall.
As the
Brian.
nerd.
Yeah, I feel
Brian,
like there's somebody you can relate to, and everybody can relate to someone in this movie. And like, while you wanted to be Bender, I also was probably the Brian. But I love how there's a literal jock and nerd in this movie, so it's a perfect pick. But
I'm more curious, you guys upon rewatch, we can dive into my thoughts later, but upon rewatch in 2024, what's that like?
I just remember when I first saw this, I just thought, because it's shot in.
How old were you?
I'm gonna say like maybe 13.
Okay, so even at that point, did you like fully get it? Because I feel like you're a little too young at that point.
I don't. Some of it, yeah. But it just, it was, it felt like grew up in suburban Chicago, going to these high schools, and it felt like suburban Chicago, and it was shot in suburban Chicago, and so I loved just the whole aesthetic of it and the characters, and Bender was cool to me, I guess, back then. Mm-hmm. But watching it now, it's amazing because it is just a movie of teenagers talking, but the little bits I learned that were improvised. And the relationships, how they set up the characters, like you really get to know about all these characters really efficiently and really well by the end. It's amazing. It's all character development, and I still thought it was. I still love this movie, like from the beginning, from Simple Minds. Don't you forget about me. I'm pumping my air in the fist. Like that's a great song. That song was huge, and it's still a fucking awesome song. And I love how it bookends the film. So, Ruggs, what'd you think now, watching it now?
Well, since you're talking about the music real quick, I'll touch on that quickly. But it was at this time that the John Hughes like films or most films, they had like one song that would be the soundtrack of the whole movie. Yep. And either they'd take the song and then use instrumental parts of it or whatever. And I found that to be very funny that they would just take one like weird 80s song and base their whole entire soundtrack like around it.
Yeah.
I saw this movie when I was 11 or 12, something like that. And I always took the side of Bender because I felt like he was the most like me in my upbringing. Like I had, my parents were a little bit different, not like, drunk and like super abusive, but not even neglectful, but just to the point where sometimes I never got a cigarette put out on me or anything. But I would live in fear of my parents. So, I always felt like the outsider, I never liked jocks too. Cause I always thought,
what?
Cause I never liked jocks because I felt like just because they played a sport, that would catapult them to popularity, even if they have a shitty personality or they weren't even good looking.
Yeah.
Some of the jocks in my high school were like, they look like Quasimodo, but because they were on the team, people liked them. And like, they didn't have any person. And I was like, oh, I have this great personality. I can talk to anyone, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I'm being overlooked. So I got like jealous of having instant popularity. It's almost like being like a fucking TikToker now or something.
Yeah.
Like, you just popular for whatever, for saying hot tour, you know?
Spit on that thing. I was wondering if someone was going to bring that up. That meme has been everywhere.
But so I got along with Bender, Bender, John
Blender.
I like using a blender, a colorless blender. And I kind of like, that was like my own personality. I was always the catalyst in my group of friends that would be outspoken and crazy, like I do on this show. I just say weird shit and get people riled up. And I always felt like, even though I didn't do all the drugs that he did in high school and all that other stuff and commit all the crimes, I felt like that was the voice that I was like, oh, he's the whole reason this movie is happening.
The rebel.
Because they would have all just sat there in silence pretty much, or just picked their ass.
He starts talking and stirring the pot right away.
Right. So he was the guy that kind of the catalyst to really get things going and people to start breaking down. And he had that need to kind of shake things up, but out of his own loneliness. And so I think that there are complexities to the characters, and everybody has their own little journey that they go on in the movie.
Yes.
But where they all start, the thing that unites them is that they all hate their parents. And so I thought, well, that's an easy foil. It would be cooler, better writing if they had a little bit more nuance in there.
No, but it's relatable, and it's all for different reasons. So, you know, the themes of pressure from your parents, and then themes of standing up to authority and not going along with the flow. Let's talk about, I think I want to kind of talk about each of the characters, and clearly Bender steals the movie. He has the best lines. He has the best part.
I think on the Bender note, I think the movie really rests, because I looked at Letterboxd after, and there's a lot of people. I mean, the movie has high reviews, but there's a lot of people that don't like the movie.
Yeah.
And I think the movie really rests on if you like Bender or not.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Well, the movie needs Bender. You don't need to like him.
Yeah.
But he needs to be there so the movie can happen.
But if you can, like, I don't know that you necessarily need to like him, but by the end you have to kind of understand his worldview. And I think for like a lot of the movie, I really hate Bender.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, he's so unnecessarily mean.
Did you ever get?
I don't like him. I don't like him either as a person, but I feel like as a character, I think he is over the top. Like, no real person would act like that,
right?
To that degree.
But everybody, you didn't have the bad kid at school who like would show up to homeroom and then had to go to like the other school where the bad kids were. Yeah,
it was me.
That was you? Jesus. We had kids like that. I remember kind of kids like that were shipped off to a whole nother school where all the trouble. No,
there's people that were worse than me, but like, yeah, like I understand like where he's coming, but I think that's the level of brazenness that he has is crazy.
I mean the thing about Bender, I have to say it.
Yeah.
I can't get over the sexual assault stuff.
Yeah, now, yes.
I mean, like now, even then, what are you talking about? I mean, the way it's written, I mean, it's so blatantly. I mean, it's fucking rape.
I mean, he's like his head is between her legs. And
then later on, he like berates her until she just is like a ball of tears.
Yeah.
And then they write that the next scene, she like respects him and wants to like kiss him.
And she shows up and she's like, I'm willing to be a bad boy now. I'm putting my prissy princessness behind me. Okay.
So yeah, I think the Bender character is a really interesting character that hasn't aged well.
So let's go through all the Bender moments. Are fucking great. You know, right from his initial introduction where you see him walking, he just walks into the street in front of the car. You know that you get this guy. You know, he's the guy, like I said, he starts stirring the pot. He wants to close the door. He takes by the way, he goes, why don't we close the door and impregnate the prom queen? Like right away at the top. I was like, whoa, it's aggressive. So he's the one who fucks the door up. Bender delivers an eat my shorts to Vernon way before Bart Simpson is even a thing. So like people, I just never thought people said that. But they did said that whole scene where he gets 8 detentions, 2 months, where Vernon's like, I got you.
I mean, that's an all-time.
It's so
scene.
great. He's like, no, so yeah.
There's another one.
You want another one?
There's another one.
All right, then let's get to the lunch scene. I feel like this lunch scene is kind of great. It's so memorable because Claire has fucking sushi and a wooden board and a little bento box. And was that in the fridge? Did she refrigerate that? Is she eating room temperature sushi? And then Andrew's got just tons of shit, a bag of cookies, a whole giant bag of potato chips, several sandwiches. Meanwhile, Allison is making a sandwich out of cereal and pixie sticks. Looks yummy. I'd eat that. Absolutely. And Brian just has like a kiddie lunch. And you notice Bender does not have a lunch. He does not have a good household. I wonder if he even gets a meal a day. And then
he clearly is fed. Okay, the guy is not. Yeah, he's not skinny.
He was quite large, but I like that little detail where Bender has no lunch. He's going to mooch off someone, and then we get into him doing Brian's family, and then we get into him doing his own dad in the classic monologue. What about you, Dad? No good, stupid, good for nothing. Fuck you. No, what about you, Dad? Fuck you. And he shows him the cigar burn, and you're like, holy shit, okay. Like that, I remember that moment as a kid. I was like, oh shit, this shit got serious.
Well, I will give them credit. I think that lines of dialogue are sometimes good. Yeah. But I think actually the movie shines more with the little details. So I like the lunch that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, I think that actually tells me more.
Yeah.
Or the beginning scene where, like, each parent drops them off.
Yes. All characters.
Get a feel for that.
Yeah.
And those scenes, I think, are really where I think the movie's ahead of its time in, like, telling a story not through just, like, the different scenes.
There's clues.
Rather than, like, through overt dialogue.
Even in the opening montage, there's some Easter eggs and clues, and I'll go over that. But then we get them running through the halls. Iconic scene with the music. They're going to get the weed from Bender's locker. I love Anthony Michael Hall. Like, this boy's got marijuana. You see that? And so
and he has the marijuana, and then like they're like going in, like they're all he's gonna like basically sneak it in, and Anthony Michael Hall goes Emilio Estevez. You approve of this?
Yeah. He's like, you approve of this? So they're about to get busted by Vernon in the hall. Bender shoves the weed down Brian's pants. It's great. And like sacrifices himself, distracts Vernon so that they don't get in trouble. There's another great Bender moment, for him. Right? Yeah. You see him kind of thinking more than himself. And then he's playing that whole thing. He's, I want to be an airborne ranger. He's playing basketball. Did you notice when he jumps out of that one shot, like he jumps out of his shoe? The shoe is still on the ground. It was very weird. Like the guy throws the ball at him and he jumps out of his shoe.
Well, now that you brought up that scene where they're running around, I will have to call out, though, that you can tell this is one of John Hughes' first movies.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the different cuts are very, like, you don't really know where they're running.
No,
like,
it looks like a giant school also.
It's like a maze. It's like, there's no, like, flow to where they're running.
No,
it's
it doesn't make any sense.
Scenes of them, like, running in different areas.
It looks like Scooby-Doo when they're running around.
Yeah, because then they were, like, going downstairs and upstairs. I was like, wait, when did you go to a different floor?
Right. And even like, calling this out earlier, too, like, I wrote this down, but there's just jarring cuts. So, for example, there's the lunch scene where Bender's talking to Brian's character, whatever that, Brian.
Yeah.
And then the next cut, he's sitting next to Emilio Estevez and Molly Greenwald's character.
Yeah.
It's just like jarring. Like there's scenes where like one person's talking to one person, and then they cut, and then that same person is now talking to someone else.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that. That's interesting.
So it's not like edited. I think part of that makes it kind of charming, but also you can just tell it's not edited. Like it's not the tightest edit you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, it's a little. He's jumping around a little. There's other weird things it does. So Bender, there's that great line where Vernon is like, "What if your dope was on fire?" And Bender's like, "Impossible, sir. It's in Johnson's underwear." And then he gets solitary, and then there's that weird scene where Vernon's like, "Oh, you think you're tough? Take a swing and hit me right now." And Bender now, for the first time, looks terrified. Away from everyone, he doesn't have this macho brave front, and it was weird, right? What did you guys make of that? He's sitting there looking totally scared, and Vernon's like, that's what
he wants people to think that he's cool or that to see him as special.
Who Bender?
Yeah.
I liked that scene because you also get some of what like motivates or what's going on in Richard Vernon's character in his head.
Yeah.
Because he explicitly states I make $31,000 a year.
Yes,
blah, blah,
we find out how much he makes. He's like, I don't
and that's like $90,000. That's like $90,000 now. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But you can tell like he's unhappy with his life.
Yeah. Yes.
And it really upsets. It's putting this whole like detention thing has broken him enough to like want to threaten his own career by fighting him because he's like, this motherfucker like doesn't respect me.
Yeah. Bender,
I should be respected.
Bender's been pushing his buttons the whole day. I also, the other line's great. Does Barry Manilow know you raid his closet? That's a great line.
You love
that.
Bender,
is a ridiculous suit that he's wearing.
Yeah. So Bender,
you love Bender.
I love Bender. Bender crawls through the ceiling, breaks out of solitary to join the
Jesus
group.
Christ, you're going to narrate Bender's entire journey.
We got to go through all the Bender moments because this scene I wondered about this scene for years because he starts to tell a joke and we never get the punchline because at the punchline he falls through the ceiling. I never bothered to look up what is the punchline of this joke. Turns out there is no punchline. Judd Nelson was improvising these lines the whole time. He was just making up a joke. So if everyone wonders what the punchline is for the Breakfast Club joke, there's no punchline. You can all sleep easy. But we got to get to the part where Bender comes back and they all get high. It's a fucking great and perplexing scene.
I just like that it leads to a punch dance, 80s punch dance, which is my favorite.
Punch dance is great.
Emilio Estevez is like doing his best Kevin Bacon in Footloose, punch dancing his way through the library.
Molly Ringwald's doing the 80s dance.
Yeah.
This has two of my favorite moments in this movie. One of my favorite lines from Anthony Michael Hall when they get stoned. And this is a line I would say all through college. We would all say this, where he's like, chicks can't hold they smoke. That's what the problem is. That would come up all the time because that's what it is. Chicks can't hold they smoke. Okay, and then, so fine. They're all getting high. They're laughing. They're dancing. Andrew is in like a separate room hotboxing it in there. And he comes out, and I don't know what the fuck he smoked, what it was laced with, because I've never seen marijuana have this effect on anyone.
No.
He is flipping and dancing and yelling and screaming and jumping, and then he comes back into the room and screams, and the window shatters.
Yeah, that's so
for
stupid.
no reason.
I believe this is a metaphor, perhaps, for their boundaries coming down. But I was like, what the fuck? Why did the glass shatter? And why is Andrew like he just smoked fucking cocaine or something? What the fuck is going on? That part, it still confuses me. I was like, I don't understand this. Have any of them ever smoked weed? So I love they're smoking weed in the library, and like Vernon doesn't smell it at all. I guess it's fine. Don't worry about it. And then how about this scene, you guys, where they're all sitting around? This is probably one of the best scenes in the movie. The confessional, where they're just hanging out, and they reveal why they're in there. A lot of this I heard also was ad-libbed based on each actor's real life experiences. But just the conversation about, like back in the day, you didn't want anyone to know you were a virgin. I still don't want anyone to know I'm a virgin.
See, I have a different take. I think that scene is decent in some parts, but also gets really ugly.
Yeah, but I think that's the point of it. Is both sides of that?
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with that. Yeah. I think they really bust up Claire really good, and she has nothing. There's no like thing she does that can like help her. Like Bender never gets his comeuppance for like making her cry.
That's true.
He like goes triple hard on her, and I don't think that character deserves it.
Well, look, I'm as the Bender in the group here.
Yeah.
Just being Bender is torture every day. Like that one little taste that she got of feeling bad about herself for like a minute is like his entire life. Yeah, his entire life is people looking down on him, judging him, telling him he's a piece of shit, and everything he does is wrong. So he kind of like is going off on her because no one ever does. She's untouchable. So he kind of says all the things that like, oh, this person just thinks that they're the nicest, well-meaning person, but they're really ugly in their own way because they won't even acknowledge you in the hallway. They won't even treat you like a human being around their friends. So I think that there's Bender's obviously, he's a criminal. He's a piece of shit and he's acting like a piece of shit. Doesn't excuse what he does, but he's kind of staying true to his character. And Claire, yeah, she's kind of an innocent bystander in this, and maybe taken out on, but at the same time, like if you compare their pain, a guy yelling at you for like a few minutes is not going to be as traumatizing as you're having your whole life of people doing that and judging you and shunning you and throwing you outside and telling you that you're a piece of shit.
How about a guy sexually assaulting you?
And then telling you you're a piece of shit.
And then telling her she's
Well, that's the gray area that is, well, that's not a gray area, but that's something that I guess is in his character.
And then you end up loving him.
Yeah. He's a misunderstood person, I guess. But I'm not trying to excuse him. He's definitely a piece of shit. You know, I mean, you're not supposed to invade people's space like that. You're not supposed to do stuff like that. But I remember in the 80s, people would snap girls' bras.
Yeah.
Right.
There was all kinds of shenanigans going on. And maybe the art was leading the reality or art was imitating life. I don't know which one it was, but I saw it with my own eyes. Just people getting away with crazy shit in high school. So it wasn't that crazy to see in a movie.
Yeah, I legitimately was like, oh, I feel bad for Claire's character.
Yeah.
Like they're really bashing this character. Like I felt like she got the worst of it throughout the entire movie.
I think if you're John Hughes and you're a guy that went through high school kind of like never being in the in crowd.
Right.
And you have just opportunity in a movie to do a takedown of one of these kind of elitist, spoiled kids, you do it.
Oh yeah, he definitely did it. He definitely did it.
Yeah, he wanted to talk about the rich girl. He made them all go to like high school undercover as research. Also.
Well, yeah, but you know why? Because other than Anthony Michael Hall's character, all these characters all these actors and actresses in the movie are in their like mid-20s.
But not true.
What are you talking about?
Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall were 16 when they were shooting it. But you're right.
Oh yeah, you're right. Molly Ringwald was also 17.
Ali Sheedy was like 23. Emilia was 23. Judd was the oldest at like 26. John Hughes was 35 when he made this movie.
Is this why? Does Molly Ringwald's character Claire? Does she actually kiss Bender on the lips?
On the neck. We see her kiss him.
What about in the scene at the end?
Oh yeah, they do share a kiss at the end. Yes. In front of like all their parents, they're making out.
They make out in front of
in front of the parents who are picking them up. I always thought that was weird.
The reason I ask is I think he's like 10 years older than her, and she's technically underage.
He would have been like 25. She would have been 16. Yes. Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall were actually dating when they were making.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, because they were just in 16 Candles together. Also.
That scene, I mean, you do get to, obviously you get it gets really real quick, and the music changes. You know, you get I thought Emilio Estevez's confession was actually like, it worked well.
Oh my God, it was so good. Because first it's so funny. He's like, I taped Larry Lester's buns together. Brian's like, oh, that was you? And it's hilarious and they're laughing. And then his performance is just very sincere. And it gets you, and
the perspective of how that kid felt going home to his dad and having to say that,
the humiliation that he would have felt, and the pressure to just fuck with a kid because your dad wants you to be the best. Like who hasn't seen? Who didn't see? Who
but also
the
how he was sympathizing with the kid, and how the kid has to go home to his own dad and explain to his dad that he just got bullied like that.
Yeah,
I thought that worked well. Yeah. I liked Brian's confession, although,
oh my God, that's the funniest one.
I don't, is he trying to, did he know, like, this is just a question. Did he know he was going to try to kill himself with a flare gun?
Yes, I believe that's what they are alluding to.
Oh, that's what they're getting at?
Yeah, he goes, I brought a gun to school. And he's like, it was a flare gun. And they all start laughing. Yes.
And then it went off in his locker.
Yes. And you see a burned locker in the opening montage. You see Brian's locker briefly. It went out, and he's like, I can't have an effing shop. And he's like, you've seen the guys that take shop. And Bender's like, what? He's like, I take shop. And you have that. So there's like the class difference. Like there's a lot of levels. In the meantime, I love how Claire told that lie about being a nymphomaniac to get, Allison banging her psychiatrist. Yeah, or to get Claire to confess kind of that she's a virgin. And she's like, I'm just kidding. I'm not a nymphomaniac. I'm a compulsive liar. Which is great. But you see Allison and Andrew kind of bond over their relationship with their parents. And then I do like how Claire and Brian kind of bond over being virgins. And then the what happens on Monday conversation is also great, and everybody gets emotional. And these fuckers aren't talking to each other on Monday.
I was going to say the what happens on Monday part is also one of the more interesting things to come out of this movie.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I don't think they end up talking to each other.
And it works both ways.
That's a whole other movie.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there was John Hughes. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here. We can still talk about the movie, but he did have ideas to make them like a movie where they got reunited 30 years later.
Oh, really? I don't think you need to do that.
Just to like see what I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah. I mean, that Andrew McCarthy documentary is kind of like him going to all the people, even though he's not in this movie. Then Bender crawls back. I love how Claire convinces Brian to write the essay for everybody. The fucking nerds always get stuck with all the work.
And the essay wasn't even 1,000 words.
No, it was very short. It was very short. And then there's the whole thing where Claire gives Allison a makeover, turning her looking like someone interesting to looking like everybody else. And still, even then, I was like, she looked better before. I don't. But then Andrew was like, "Oh, look, you're actually pretty." Oh, and then they hook up. But I just the makeover bit always was like, really? You just made her vanilla.
Did she need
looking.
the makeover? Yeah. I don't think she looked better with the makeover.
Yeah.
The people that on Letterboxd that don't like this movie are like all about, oh, she needed a makeover for Andrew to notice her.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's
I was like, that's whatever. I wasn't offended by that. I was like, I'm like, I guess maybe he would go for her. I don't know.
My other favorite Allison moment is in the beginning where she's like drawing on the desk, and she's really good. She's drawing this landscape, and then the dandruff in her hair is the snow on top. I was like, that's brilliant.
That's gross.
That's great.
Oh,
it's gross.
That was fucking gross.
So gross. But I was like,
I did laugh,
great.
but
It
it was
looks like
gross.
snow. This is perfect. Anyways, yes, this is when Claire visits Bender, and she kisses him on the neck. I'm like, did they just fuck? It's unclear, but I don't know. But yeah, why did she give in all of a sudden is also kind of weird. But
the only thing I could give it that I could patch it up to was she does somewhat like his bad boy. Like there is a scene earlier where he berates her, and then later on she kind of like gives him a look like, I'm kind of into it, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing too is I think she mentions this is she wants to use him to make her parents mad.
Yeah, that's right.
Because her parents have been using her to get back at each other, in their own ways.
Yeah, it works out perfectly for all of them, I guess. So as it ends up,
I don't know if it works out. I think they have a good day.
Yes.
And then on Monday it goes back to probably what it was.
None of these fuckers are talking to each other on Monday. I don't think so. This is always what I thought. But
I did like that Brian was the one that was like, I would never.
Yeah, he's like,
I would never talk shit behind your guys' back.
He's like, I'd say hi to you.
Well, not only that, but like, I would never berate you, say hi to you and then talk shit about you.
And Claire is like, that's where she shows herself. She's like, well, we're better than you.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
And so, she kind of shows, unfortunately, the way that her worldview is that there is a hierarchy, and she kind of plays it off like she's stuck in it, but she willingly participates in it.
She does. Well, that's right. She doesn't have to do it, but she does. Because
she says she has to do it. Yeah.
I mean, that's your peer pressure. It's your straight.
And then kind of the same with Andrew's character, and he has to live up to this.
And I mean, she calls out Bender too. She's like, "What do you think if your friends saw us walking together? Right? You're gonna do that?" And and she's got a point there. Like, is he gonna acknowledge anyone? Anyways, the movie ends. He's reading the essay that starts the movie, and he finishes it, and we see Allison and Andrew kiss in front of his parents as he's getting picked up. Claire gives Bender one of the diamond rings that he was like giving her shit for. And they have a kiss in front of her parents. Brian, this is John Hughes' cameo. John Hughes picked up Brian, played his dad. And then you get the iconic Judd Nelson fist pump in the field, freeze frame at the end. Also, which it was
nothing
improvised.
like ending a movie on a freeze frame.
I love the freeze frame ending. Come on. With Don't You Forget About Me. Hey, 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 hey. Yeah. That shit is dope.
You love this movie.
This movie
I can
is
just
great.
tell.
I did pick up a couple. Yes.
I was just going to say it's in the National Film Registry, and it's considered, I think it was like number 1 on some list for all-time teen coming-of-age film.
Yeah, I think what it does really well is it does 3 things really well. Number 1, it encapsulates the 80s.
Absolutely.
It's very 80s.
It's very of its time, yes.
Even though the library was a set that they built in the middle of a gym, because the library that they were going to shoot in that school was too small.
It looks legit.
It felt like an 80s library. It
100%.
felt authentic. It felt the school, like the way that they dressed, the attitude, the music, the dancing was the dances that they would do, the punch dancing. That's what I call it. But, so it does that very well. It does tap into those very 80s stereotypes very well. It's not very, doesn't have a lot of diversity. So I think that's a strike against it. It could have included some other characters, maybe. It also has very good acting.
Yes.
So the acting's good, and it's a play. It's a play.
It's absolutely a stage play. Yes,
it's a stage play. It's written like a stage play, so it's very well acted.
Yep.
And
but you got kids talking like kids. I think for the first time around now, kids seeing movies about people their age talking like kind of they would talk.
Right,
was like a big thing because they didn't do that.
And I think the subtext is good. I think the underlying things about the kind of world that is created in high school. There is this hierarchy. There are these groups. There's these cliques, and you evidently you end up in one against your own will. Sometimes you're trying to get into one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's high school is a very crazy situation.
And I love the beauty of putting these 5 people from completely different backgrounds and cliques together.
Yeah.
And force them to talk.
So I think it did this on a level that it's just so targeted at that audience, right? So I think it nailed it in that way. Now we could talk about 80s norms and things like where they're going over the line, or it's stuff that you can't do in
the
movie.
F word is used, once.
There's stuff, but of its time, that's what you would say.
Yeah.
If you were in the 80s, you were dropping that word all the time. It had nothing to do with, whatever. It was just a word that you said, skibbity toilet. It just didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It was like, all these fucking words that don't, it was
totally. Now,
so it didn't have that much meaning behind it. It was just something that you said. But, it did have a lot going for it.
I got a couple of interesting things about the making of. So the school, the movie opens up with a very specific date and location. Saturday, March 24th, 1984, Shermer High School, Shermer, Illinois. I believe there is a Shermer, Illinois, but it was filmed in an abandoned high school, Maine North, in Des Plaines. So I went to high school out here, and all our high schools are like the name of a town and then one of the directions. So I went to Niles West.
I went to Maine East.
You went to Maine East. There was a Niles North. There was a Maine West, Maine East, Glenbard South, Glenbard North. They all did this. Maine North had closed in 1981, so it was abandoned at the time when they shot this. And you're right, they built the library in the gym. It's currently like an Illinois State Police office headquarters. It's kind of weird. Now, Shermer is part of John Hughes's shared universe. Ferris Bueller also shot in the same high school, also set in Shermer High, also shot in Maine North interiors. Weird Science, if you notice, that high school is also Shermer High School. That one also stars Anthony Michael Hall. So John Hughes loved this high school in Shermer, Illinois, I guess. I didn't notice this. I saw this in a video. That scene where Bender is ripping books where they're hanging out and he's just tearing the pages out of books. It's hilarious. Brian is standing next to a post, and on the post is a library rules sign. And it says on there, it says typed out, We asked the students to please, and then written in pencil, it says below each other. Real fate. You can read it. Very 80s. Carl has an interesting little Easter egg in the beginning of that montage. They show you a bunch of pictures and plaques, and you see Carl, the janitor, was 1969 Man of the Year. So I don't know if that means he used to be a teacher. He was a student. He was a teacher. He's been there for a long time.
No, I would probably assume he was a student.
And he was a student, and now he sees everything, and he's still there as the janitor. The original title of this was going to be Lunch Bunch, but John Hughes heard the kids were actually calling Saturday Detention the Breakfast Club. And, Anthony Michael Hall, if you watch, I think you can notice, he went through a growth spurt while filming this movie. So there are scenes where he's literally shorter than Judd Nelson, and then there are scenes where he is taller than Judd Nelson. By the end of shooting this movie,
are you serious?
He was taller than Judd Nelson. Yes.
Oh my God.
He was 17 and he was growing. Alternate cast. We almost had a movie where Jodie Foster would have been Claire, John Cusack would have been Bender, and Rick Moranis would have been Carl, the janitor.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I don't know if that would have been better.
Some of those names, I saw some other names for Claire.
Robin Wright was one of them.
Robin Wright.
Yeah.
You said Jodie Foster?
Jodie Foster. And there was one
Diane
more.
Lane.
Diane Lane,
and Laura Dern.
Oh, Laura Dern was the other one.
And they wanted Molly Ringwald to play Allison.
Yes. Hughes had her audition for Allison, and she really wanted to play Claire, which is perfect. I can't believe he would. I think the cast is perfect in each of their roles. I don't think
Nicolas Cage as Bender would have been something, huh?
Cage or Cusack. John Cusack apparently almost got this role.
He would have been fine at Bender too.
Yeah, but I think that who ended up in this movie is just fucking perfect cast.
Well, I mean, to that point, I completely agree with Ruggs. The movie is really hinged on these characters each being memorable in their own ways. And I think Bender, obviously, is the most memorable, but they do all act well enough where you're like, I believe they're high school students going through a lot of shit.
Yeah,
like they all have this image of who they want to be because of the stereotypes that exist in high school that are also perpetuated by even the adults. So even, Vernon thinks of them this way, and that's what they call out.
Yeah.
But like under the surface, they're all dealing with their own shit in their families.
And there is that interesting line between Vernon and Carl where he's like, every year these kids get more arrogant. And Carl's like, the kids are staying the same. You're the one who's changing, Vernon. He's like, that's some bullshit. I thought that was very interesting, his point of view on that, because that's almost still the thing.
Yeah, I think the movie does a good job. Like each character has more depth than you would think.
Yes.
So I think it does a really good job of injecting, more 3D characters rather than 2-dimensional characters. Even the janitor is not the janitor, per se.
There's nuance,
but I just think the only issue I have is like it does a lot of these things really well. But then, like, the Bender-Claire relationship arc doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, but you get a lot of character. Like, you feel like you really know these 5 kids by just one day in detention. Their whole worlds are kind of changed, sort of. We'll see if they talk to each other on one day. Anyways,
I think they probably do have a different worldview coming out of it.
Yeah.
But I think that almost makes it more tragic. Because like they're gonna go back to Monday and know who each other are, but they can't acknowledge each other as real people.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Vernon real quick.
Yeah.
You see, he was very adversarial to the kids.
Yeah.
He was very much.
He doesn't want to be there either, right? Probably.
He doesn't want to be there. He has a poster of a girl in a bikini in his office.
Calendar. Yeah, he's got the bikini.
Yeah, he's got the rigid calendar, which is like a double entendre.
Yeah.
Is probably rigid penis. But like. Yeah, he says he makes $31,000 a year, but it's really like $93,000 for if you adjust for inflation. So that's actually a good living. And I think that the devil horns is the bull gets the horns. He says that. So you
mess
just
with the
give
bull,
him
you
the
get
horns.
the horns.
That's
2
right.
months.
He's giving them the horns.
Got your ass for 2 months.
Now the thing about him is that he's very adversarial to the kids. Yeah. He's their enemy. He's like, these kids are pieces of shit and they need to be taught a lesson. Yeah. That used to happen in the 80s. That does not happen anymore. Can't
do that.
Like in the in the world that we live in, the students are the ones that they're the ones that are in charge. There's none of this adversarial, like these bulldozer parents and stuff would just mow them down.
So could you make this movie today? Are there still detention?
There is, but it's no one feels oppressed by their school. It's just not a thing. It's like, especially after COVID, when kids were at home like sleeping while the people that had to actually teach the class were sitting there doing their job or trying to teach to like kids that were like basically playing video games.
They get away with
time.
A lot these days, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so it doesn't ring as true as it would never happen. That dynamic is gone.
What about those cliques, though? The different stereotype of these teenagers. That's.
I think that the stigma of everything is now lessened. Yes, there's still a stigma. Like, okay, let's take being a nerd when we were growing up. Like being into comic books, you used to get laughed out of a room if you said you read comic books at 15 years old. What, you still like Spider-Man while they're all fucking doing coke, you know? And fucking finger banging each other, you know, like, oh, you like fucking comic books? Now it's like, it's completely accepted. So there's no stigma really to liking anything or being into anything. People proudly will walk around in like wearing anime shirts and blah, 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 and talking about their fandom. And no matter how weird shit that you're into, like there doesn't seem to be.
But now you're the weirdo if you're not into any of that shit.
Yeah, if you're just a normal, like just a regular straight edge person, that's just that's the outsider now.
That's weird.
So it is kind of weird, but so yeah, that whole stigma thing. I mean, people get bullied for things.
Yeah,
but it's all hypocritical bullying. It's like they're doing the exact same shit. They're just figuring out how to like take someone else down to make themselves. It's all about like knocking someone down so you can get more clout, or you have the clapback of the moment, you know, and that's more what it is.
That's Skibbity, Ohio, man, bruh. Skibbity,
it's Skibbity.
That's not very Sigma, bro.
If you made this movie now, it would look different. You would have to, you'd have to adjust it for the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that we perceive, like the effects of, are so much more ironed out that like racism and all that and classism and all that stuff has been like kind of a lot of it's softened like it to a degree. Like it's not as pervasive as they make it. I feel like a lot of it is hyperbole.
Yeah.
Like it's not as bad as it actually is. Like people don't really, yes, there's like rednecks out there in the thing that are walking around being super racist, but I think it's more like the average person is pretty cool with everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not this pervasive thing. And there's not like, these people demonizing nerds. There's not these people demonizing sluts anymore. You could be a slut now. Be a slut all you want. You do whatever. And it's like really nothing, you know, that really will make you an outlier other than, I don't know.
I think that if you were to do the movie now, I think the parents would still be a thing because every kid
blames their parents for everything.
Yeah.
More now than any other time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that'd be a big thing. But I also think if you wanted to make it of this time, there would be a tie-in to like social media and like how connected the world is and how like as a teenager, you're viewing things and being made aware of things that you never would have been aware of, years ago, but you don't have the mental, the life experience to even compartmentalize what that all means. Like everything for you as a teenager, I bet at this point is like insane, like the end of the world, crazy stuff. You see one thing happen and you're like, oh my God, is this how it is everywhere?
I feel like
you would have to pepper in like just the pervasiveness of information and phones and like having that in front of you as a teenager now.
Being completely ignorant and not being like scared to death about everything or being information to death on everything. Like, yes, we were in cars without seatbelts. Yes, we rode bikes without fucking helmets. And there is danger, but the perceived amount of danger that we were in, the way that they make it out to be like, especially now that they have Like you can literally find a group online or a therapist or a school counselor or whatever to figure out like what to blame your problems on. You know, there's like, oh, because the boomers did their thing and now that's why your life sucks. Like we would never think that in the 80s growing up. Right. Like we had no fucking idea why the world sucks.
Yeah.
We're just living in it.
You didn't have constant information in your pocket. I feel like even with all the connectivity, like I feel like a lot of these kids still feel alone and isolated.
Oh yeah.
It makes it worse.
So if you did,
because also they're looking at all the things they don't have.
Right. And it's
easy to look at like social media and be like, oh, look at that person on the beach with the great body. And I'm going to see that 30 more times because if I keep looking at it, the algorithm's going to tell me to keep looking at it.
And that's
like when you were in high school and the hot girl, you would never see her in a bikini.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to like know her and go to the beach with her or be there.
Yes.
Now they're posting pictures of themselves in their bikinis.
God, that is a crazy thing. If you're a kid now, you walk around.
How are you supposed to go
and you're like, I've seen this girl wearing almost nothing, and this is just some girl I go to school with. Like, that's fucking wild.
It is crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
All that to say for me is you could certainly make this movie now. Obviously, it would be a huge mistake to call it Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
It would just be doomed on arrival.
Right.
But you could make something like this, and it would be viable.
I think you put kids in detention and you make them not have their phones. All right, like they're not allowed to have phones, so they're forced to talk, and then stuff happens. All right, let's wrap it up, Anthony. Final thoughts. Give it a number. I don't know if you want to rate it against any other John Hughes movies or Brat Pack movies. I don't know.
No, not yet. Not for me. You guys can do that. I would love to hear your like favorite John Hughes movies, though, either written or directed. I think for me, this movie, when I first watched it, I thought it was a little bit overrated. I thought it was a 6 out of 10. I watched it this go around. I still have a lot of problems with the Bender-Claire relationship, as I've said multiple times. But I was actually much more entertained this go around. I found it funny. I laughed out loud a lot. Found some of the writing to be really strong in some areas and the acting. So I rated it 8 out of 10 this go around. So if I'm going to average it out, I'm going to go 7 out of 10.
Okay. Rugs.
I think it has a bigger impact, though, if you've grew up with this movie.
I think if you saw it back in the day and you're a certain age, yes, it has a huge impact.
I'm watching this in my 30s, not as like I didn't even pitch this as a teenager.
Yeah. And I feel like it's still a rite of passage movie for a lot of kids these days. Like, I feel like you got to see Breakfast Club when you hit.
Yeah. I feel like there's some odd shit in this movie, like the sexual harassment and making out in front of your parents. I feel like that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
But most of the other stuff rings true. And and to a degree, it's a little exaggerated, of course, but I think it still holds up. And you can watch it and still have get something out of it even now. Even though it's lacking some things that like I said, the diversity and understanding of the world that we have now.
Right.
But I think it's a good movie. And I think everybody should watch it at least once.
Yeah.
It's an 8 for me.
Yeah.
And I would say that my favorite John Hughes movie is Ferris Bueller's Day Off because it's so much fun.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's still outside of the couple of questionable things that haven't aged well. It largely does still hold up and it has conversations I think like are timeless. I'm also going to give it an 8 out of 10. I love this movie and I'll watch it whenever it's on. But I'm with Ruggs. Like, out of all the movies he's directed, Ferris Bueller is probably one of the greatest. So I would put this right under.
It's a classic.
Ferris Bueller, but Weird Science is great. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a fucking comedy classic. Uncle Buck is great. 16 Candles is great. Ferris Bueller is a fucking masterpiece, though, of 80s and a perfect time capsule. All of these movies, amazing time capsules of the time. Yeah, it's great.
And a great Chicago movie.
Yes, it's a great suburban Chicago movie. Same with Ferris Bueller. A lot of great Chicago in there.
And Ferris Bueller's also got Sloane Peterson, which is very hot.
Yes. And that girl didn't do any other movies. Mia Sarah. She was in the Legend with Tom Cruise. Peterson. No, she was in Legend.
Yes.
I'll do it. He'll keep calling me. I'll do it. Anyways, I could quote that movie all day long. But this movie also quotable, also great 80s movie. I'm glad Anthony, the Brat Pack, intrigued you. Maybe you'll check out some other.
Maybe we will. Maybe movies. As soon as next week, we'll see.
All right. In the meantime, let's do some news from the nation. It's time for news from the nation. It's time for news from the nation.
It stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
All right, this is going to get a little weird, fellas. I'm just going to spend a couple minutes. I need everyone's help to help me make a medical decision. If a listener does not know, I am one who lives with vitiligo. It is a skin disorder where your pigment is slowly goes away. So I was born a little brown boy, grew up into a white man, just like Michael Jackson. Very similar. So I have no pigment on my skin, right? And that's why my beard is going all white. Anyways, David Zika, listener, Patreon supporter. David Zika was helpful enough to post a link to a new experimental research study here. And it says living with vitiligo. And he says, Imran, they will pay you to use drugs, probably some rectal bleeding or your thumbs might fall off, but free drugs. So that got my attention right away.
Oh, shit.
I was like, let me see this. First of all, this Facebook ad, if you notice, the headline at the bottom says, got vitiligo. Click here. Are you really trying to cop the got milk ad campaign?
It says live. Oh, it does say got vitiligo.
It says got vitiligo. This isn't fucking milk, you motherfuckers.
I just think that this image is suspect of this woman.
Well,
what's with the dots on her face?
Why is there bukkake on her face?
She has pearls glued to her face, and it says model shown is not an actual patient, which is my second thing. I didn't know you could be a vitiligo model. Where was this when I was growing up? I could have been.
There's a woman who's got vitiligo. That's
Winnie
very
Harlow,
famous.
or she changed her name. And then you have the Morgan Freeman. But when I was a kid, there was nobody hiring vitiligo models. This is some bullshit. Anyways. If you click the link, it takes you to a page and it says, living with vitiligo, embracing your vitiligo takes time and patience. So does trying to treat it. If you haven't had any luck, don't give up. You could use a new investigational medication that could provide the results you've been looking for at no cost. So they're looking for guinea pigs. What is involved in this? It says here, 13 in-person visits to your local study site, 52 weeks of treatment. Get a chance to use a new investigational medication at no cost, and you could make up to $1,300 for your time. So that also got my attention. I was like, oh, they're going to pay me? But I don't think there's a placebo in it, so you may not even get the thing. I don't think this is worth the trouble. I was going to apply because I could use the cash. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Should I be a guinea pig? I don't trust it.
When do each of us get to spend time on the medical things we have going on, like you do every show?
Anytime you want to bring up, if you need some medical advice, it's always open. Anytime.
Yes.
If you haven't established, listen, we've established.
I would like to talk about my colon.
Yes. Yeah. We could, colon blow. We can talk about the little. Yes.
That's what I think.
My question is that. At this point, you've already transitioned to being 100% white to the point where you have no nipple color.
You're right. And to be honest, I've kind of gotten comfortable being a white guy. I don't know if I need to go back at this point.
I would like to see you just be brown for like a little bit. Right. I think that would be great if you could just dye your beard black, all black, and then just wear some makeup, go in brown face.
Do you think I could get away with that? Because there's people with vitiligo.
But you're actually Pakistani.
That's what I'm saying.
You're just doing Michael Jackson. You're just restoring your.
How jarring would it be if one day I showed up at work and I'm brown?
I would like to see what you look like as a brown kid.
I would look like a whole different person. I think I would look just unrecognizable. Maybe I'll do it in Photoshop just for shits and giggles.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Just to try.
I would actually really like to see that.
But I'm not, you know what? Zika,
there's no point in this. Like if you were like halfway, then I'd be like, all right, you could probably, but at this point, I don't know. If it was a miracle drug and you already knew that it worked, then I would do it. I wouldn't do it as an experiment.
Yeah.
At this point.
This ad also, this is just a weird picture of this.
This whole thing is questionable. But in all fairness, you're right. I think if you have vitiligo and you've had it for a little while, it's not 100%, 90% on your body. This may help. But all my pigment is gone. Ain't nothing bringing it back. Science. Fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
Would this turn your hair back to black or brown?
I don't know. Because now the hair follicles are being affected by the vitiligo and turning white in weird spots and splotches. So That's why I look like a panda bear.
Now, what if this turned you purple?
Oh, you know what? If it's one color,
like Thanos?
As long as it's one color, pick a color. I don't care what color.
Look like Thanos.
I would get my chin done up to look like Thanos. Listen, I just want to say, David Zika, I appreciate the thought, but I'm going to pass on this experimental medicine. They probably have to shoot it in your penis for it to work.
I need this image to go away.
I really hate this image. I hate this image, and I hate that Imran spent 10 minutes on his own disease here.
We're done on my disease. Who wants to go next? How's that sciatica? I don't know. Who's got the gout? I have some home remedies.
Yes.
Herbal tea. Put it on there. No, let's finish with what are we watching, okay? We're going to start Acolyte, episode 4. This is a new segment suggested by Jose Ibarra called What Does Anthony Hate Watching This Week? Anthony, Acolyte, episode 4, go. First of all, you did a great instant reaction on Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Let's first plug the fact that if you're a Patreon user, you can hear my instant reaction to it. And if you're not a Patreon user and you want to hear me hate on the Acolyte right when it ends, this is what I'll be doing.
Will we get more instant reactions, first of all, for the remainder of the season?
If I remember, I'll try to do them weekly.
It was great. Jose also loved it. He told me on the Discord.
I need to listen to it now.
Yeah, the Acolyte is, it's not as bad as the episode 3.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
It's not as bad as episode 3, but it's still not good. I mean, the worst thing about the Acolyte is it's like boring.
This episode was a little boring. It was very boring.
It still looks cheap.
Yes.
I think my biggest gripe with one of the things, the shot of Coruscant to start.
Yeah.
And they've done this already, but it looks like a PlayStation 2 video game. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? But I think the biggest part of this that I don't like, or that I was like, this is stupid, and it's just written so childlike, is like you had May doing all these killings of Jedis, and then midway through this episode, she's like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore.
She just fucking switches for no reason.
And it's like, someone's been controlling me. And it's just like,
literally,
why is this written like this?
Literally, it's like, you know what? I think I'm not going to do this. I saw my sister.
I'm done.
You know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm going to go turn myself in. Really?
And I'm going to turn myself in. It's like, oh, but you just killed 2 Jedi. They don't want to keep, they're probably going to kill you.
And so
none of this makes sense.
Okay. Let me just
and then okay. Yeah. One other thing too. It's like, who is the dude? Who is the evil Sith Jedi at the end? And it's like, I'll give you one guess watching this episode who that mystery is already gone.
Wait,
it's that dude.
He's the only other
Ezra
guy.
Miller.
It's the only other guy there. Yeah, he's Filipino Ezra Miller for sure. He looks like Ezra Miller. But there was a moment where I was like, maybe it's one of her moms. No, but they died. We saw them die. I thought it was the mom. Anyways, first of all, the fucking forest set. Did they shoot this at a rainforest cafe? What is going on? It looks so bad. Yeah. They spent so much time going back and forth. They're both on the same planet. There's 7 Jedi. They can't find each other. Hasn't it been established? Luke, Anakin, Leia, Rey, Kylo, they could all fucking sense each other. They could all talk to each other. How hard is it to find a motherfucker when you're a Jedi? I don't understand. Thirdly, yes, she flips. The thing that pissed me off the most is I was waiting for the Wookiee Jedi to do some cool shit, and she shows up, and he's already fucking dead.
I know.
Are you fucking serious?
That's the thing. There's no suspense in this episode. Like, it's just them walking around a cheap set, and then the one scene where the insect gets
the bugs, yes.
The bug gets awake, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe we got like a good action scene where all the bugs are out, they're throwing lightsabers, and it's just like he unsheaths it, slices it in half, and it's like, it's done.
Barely
it's
an
like,
inconvenience.
What was the point of even having that scene?
I don't know. I was like,
you just teased a better scene.
Wouldn't all the bugs have seen that? Why didn't they wake up and attack you? What the fuck is going on?
But what's the point of all that did?
It didn't show anything.
You can tell this episode is 27 minutes. Yeah. It's 32, but I think it's really 27.
It's like 25 minutes with credits.
But it's really like they only have like 12 minutes of content.
No, that's what pissed me off the most. The episode ends in that dope scene. They pull out their 7 lightsabers. They're ready to throw down. I'm like, all right, let's go. Fucking roll credits. Fuck off.
Shit.
It just ends. All of that shit they did, you could have done it in like 5 minutes in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And hit me with that fucking dope action scene and continue. Like, it was so padded out. Nothing fucking happened. And then they tease you and they end the episode.
I just think that you're 4 episodes in, you don't really learn anything about Star Wars lore or any of like the real like world expanding stuff. It's just this character. Well, they tried to introduce these witches and then they kill them off.
Yeah.
And whatever. And they don't really even spend that much time with that either and really get into that. So like they're introducing all this stuff and patting themselves on the back, and then they're using there was this weird throwaway line about the fucking gopher being a they. And I'm like, that just out of place.
Basil. They called him a they? They did.
That seemed like a little bit forced. I don't care, but like Basil. It made my eyes roll a little bit like, oh my God, they're really like not even trying to work it in where it makes sense. Like, it's just weird. It's just weird writing. Like the fact that she turns with no catalyst to it. Right. Like they didn't write it. So, okay, she's conflicted because her sister's there. Yeah. And it's making her think about, and you know, what she's done and blah, blah, blah. But there's not enough of that. Like at Andor, that would have been handled a lot better. That would have been, it would have been set up and explored. And there would have been a scene there. But this just happens because they need it to happen. It just feels just very lackluster in the writing department. It feels like it's just not very good. It's just blah.
And if you play that out to like it's like logic here, so she saw her sister, and that's why she wants to like not do this anymore. But like one of the last times she saw her sister, she tried to burn her in a fire.
Yeah, and the sister just shot at her, but missed.
Yeah, and just shot her. So and then like. So if you're going to do a redemption arc, usually like a redemption arc, there's something in the character that you've noticed where you're like, there's something redeeming. But thus far, nothing has made this character redeeming to be like, I want to see this character redeemed, to have a redemption arc. So
they're holding back the big reveal that it's the Jedis all along that were corrupt. Yeah. And, you know, we already know that. So it's not even like going to be a surprise when it happens. So it's like it's failing on every level. Like if you're going to have like a big reveal, you got to at least make it so like we can't guess what it is like right off the bat. Unless they're going to flip it and it's really
got to be
something
Khmer.
else. But
it's got to be Khmer. There's nobody else on the planet. The guy's already there.
That's the guy. Yeah. If it's Khmer, it really makes it even worse because Khmer is all like, you didn't kill the Jedi the way you were supposed to.
Yeah, without a weapon.
But without a weapon. But like his character provided the poison to kill the second one. Yes. So it's like, oh my God, what is this writing? If it's Khmer, it seems obvious.
Oh God, I hope it's
not. Hopefully it's not, but
who else?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, aside all the nitpicky shit, it's objectively bad writing. And 4 episodes in, I have not seen an improvement. We're halfway through. I'm still going to watch.
Campia called this out. I didn't notice it live, but he called this out when I watched the review after I did my instant reaction. But he's like, you can nitpick all these little things, but he's like, it's just in terms of examples of bad writing, like the May's character goes to that planet to like look for the Wookiee's Jedi.
Right.
And they're on her tail, but they have to go back to like their old planet. They know where she's going. And they know where he's going, but they have to go back and like talk to the council.
Yeah.
But then they have to talk to the council, so they take a detour, but then they go to the planet, and it seems like they seemingly arrive there like minutes after she's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, how did that happen? Like, how is this that you had a time to detour, but then still make it back, and it seems like you guys got there at the same time?
Hyperspace? I don't fucking know. Jesus. Then the whole time they're walking around, I'm like, you're bound to run into each other any minute now. Like, this all looks the same. I think she just passed
it just looks cheap.
It did look. That's the sets just they're off. So
when they're on the ship, I felt like I was watching the Star Trek TV show.
It's a little Star Trek. It's a little Doctor Who, like old Doctor Who. It's weird. It's weird.
I hate that character in green,
Venestra. Nobody likes Venestra. Master of Venestra.
And she's only in there, but they're pulling a James Gunn. That's the director's
that's
partner.
Yeah.
So they're doing the whole James Gunn thing, which we've been fair. We've hated on that too.
Yes, we don't like. We just like
Jen Holland.
Listen, if everything works, then there's nothing really to complain about.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't work.
It's
so bad.
It was padded and paced horribly. I don't know what to do. Okay, let's move on to another episode 4. We're also halfway through for the boys season 4.
Boys. I didn't see this one.
You didn't see this one? We talked a little bit already about
Without spoiling too much,
yes,
you can talk about it. I'll turn my ears off.
I'll say that Homelander in this episode actually kind of pulls it back into like watchability. It's now like kind of watchable now.
Yeah, he does a thing. He goes back to where he was raised in the lab, and Anthony Starr is amazing because at first you do kind of sense that he's there to just get some closure and make things right, and then he starts to snap. You see some flashbacks of what he did go through as a kid.
I never thought for a second that he was going to be...
But it's the kind of thing where, like, if I was the person in that room and Homelander shows up, you are just shitting in your pants.
Yeah, there's no way it's going to go well.
Because you don't know what he's going to do at any moment. And the way he brings them a fucking ice cream cake. But you know some of those motherfuckers are about to die horrible deaths. But as they reveal, like, what actually they did to him, it's kind of brutal. It kind of makes you sympathize with him a little bit more because he went through some shit. And I don't know if he's had a cathartic moment after what happens.
No.
But it felt like they were spinning their wheels a little bit with all this. But I think he needed to go through this to face his, like, yeah, it's very intriguing. And then there's a whole thing with Anu January and Firecracker gets a TV show. They have some dirt on Starlight, and then the boys get some dirt on Firecracker, and all things get revealed. It's another hot button topic, but it's kind of crazy. I thought it was very good. Ruggs, what'd you think? I thought it was a good episode 4.
Yeah, I had to catch up. So I had to watch all the episodes, and I fast forwarded through all the weird shit, like the bestiality and whatever. And
no octopus fucking. They told him this stuff. I will say this: there is a scene in here, Anthony, that this is the episode of the season that gives me the thing that's so hard to watch that I had to look away. It's between Sister Sage and the Deep in a steel rod utensil tool. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what the fuck are you doing? Holy shit, stop. But it's kind of brilliant. It explains why she hooked up with the Deep at the end of the last episode. And I had a guess about this and I was right. It is what it was. Okay, but I don't want to spoil too much. Watch it. It's really good. Did you watch the Hot D? Are we all caught up, everyone?
Yes.
I watched the Hot D.
Okay, now this one.
Spoiler alert.
This one we could spoil a little bit. What'd you guys think? Episode 2. Two big things that happen. But this show, I love this. This show's great. Did you like it?
I liked it. I liked it.
So good.
What I like about it is it plays into like logically how everyone would react, and then kind of like ups the stakes a little bit more. You know, Rhaenyra is clearly like, what the fuck, man? Like, that's not what I wanted. And I love like Otto Hightower, like parading them, like like to get sympathy. Yeah. But then like Aegon, like everyone's character acts in their own distinct way. Like Aegon overreacts and fucking kills all the rat catchers.
Yes.
Sir Kristen, like, you know, basically wants the Erics to fight each other, or that whole scene is great. And then, them with one of the Erics then killing himself because he killed his own brother. Like, there's all these things that happen that make sense, you know? And I find it to be really, really riveting television right now.
Wait, let's talk about that. So Sir Kristen sends the one Eric, the two twin brothers, they split sides. He sends the one Eric to go kill Rhaenyra by himself, telling him to disguise himself as his twin brother and walk in. And it ends up in this amazing fight between the twins, to which I even lost track of which one was which in Rhaenyra's room.
So did I.
Right. So then at the end, there is a definitive kill, and the guy turns around and falls on his sword. That was the good Eric?
Yeah.
Okay, so the good Eric did win.
The good Eric won, or the green Eric, the Allison Eric won.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
But then he like kills himself because he can't stand the fact that he just killed his own brother.
Oh, that wasn't Rhaenyra's Eric. That was the other Eric who won?
No. Rhaenyra's Eric won.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. I'm calling him the good Eric, Black Eric.
Right.
Owen's green. Okay. Wow. So he does protect her, and I did not expect him to I was like, fuck, he just killed his brother. Did not expect him to fall on a sword. But do you think Kristen Cole sent him for them to specifically kill each other, knowing this might happen?
No, he went to have it. The war ended. He thought he was doing the right thing.
Of Rhaenyra. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was a brilliant plan. It just the White Worm told on him.
Right.
Yes, because that was great. She's walking away and she noticed. She's like, "Wait a minute! I just saw that guy back in the castle. What is he doing walking by?"
And that just basically, I mean, even further escalated the war because, like, if there was there was probably no way of coming back, but now you just sent someone to infiltrate and kill the queen.
Yeah, that was wild.
I was a little upset that Rhaenyra didn't pick up a sword and fucking kick his ass.
Start fighting.
Or like get in there, and she was like just running away like a biatch. Like she should have like, because we've seen her be more badass. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would like to have seen her like not be cowering in fear and just actually be more cool. I'll tell you the most riveting scene was the funeral.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
They stitch the kid's head back on.
I know you can see the stitches,
and they're on purpose. They got him like going on this shaky ride. I'm that head's gonna come off, and then they hit a rock.
Yeah, when they were trying,
that's exactly what I thought was when they were stuck in there. I was like, the head of this kid's falling off the fucking thing.
This whole body's gonna fly off. The head's gonna pop off. This is not good. But then everybody just clamoring.
That's genius. That's genius how they shot it. Yeah, and they did that without giving you the payoff, and it was still like. Is it going to come off? Is it not? Like the whole time.
And you can feel Helena's just like,
she's like, I don't want to be here.
Like,
They're all looking at her.
This is horrible.
Rhaenyra, the cool, and she's just like, I don't want to be here. Wait, can you explain to me this lineage real quick? Is Aegon and Helena are siblings?
Brother and sister.
They're siblings, and those are their kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Otto Hightower called Jaehaerys his grandson. I was like, wait a minute. But it's not. But it is. Okay, so it's all inbred. Anyways, the other big moment at the end where Kristen Cole and Aegon are there and he fires fucking Hightower.
That was great too.
Give me your badge, bitch. You're done.
I love the where Otto Hightower is just like berating him like you're a fucking
He's
fool.
Like, you're an idiot. What do you think is gonna happen? And he's like,
he gives the hand to Kristen.
Oh my
which
God.
I thought was interesting too.
Yeah. He's like, I don't
know about
the hand.
The other guy wanted to be the hand.
Larys.
Yeah.
I love. Oh my God, that moment was great where they have the one blood or cheese locked up, and he gets there and he just reveals his torture weapons, and the guy goes, "Daemon Targaryen paid me to do it." There was another guy. He just gives them up right quick. Aegon comes in. Fucking. I
also enjoy the scene where Rhaenyra is just berating Daemon for the whole thing.
Because she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, bro? I didn't want a kid to get killed. What are you doing?" He's like, "You have jeopardized me." And does she like send him away, or he just leaves?
She kicks him out.
She does kick him out. Yeah.
She just tells him she can't trust him, and she knows that he's angling for his own things.
Right.
Yeah. Is he?
Right.
So that makes it even more interesting. Like, because Daemon thought obviously he was Viserys' brother. He should have got the throne.
Right. Well, also like Daemon's perspective on it is like, I didn't have the kid. I didn't want the kid killed.
Right.
So it's not my response.
He's like, it was a mistake.
Right. But like, it is kind of his fault.
It is his fault, of course, 100%. And then, what did you make of that scene towards the end where Alicent goes to see Aegon and he's just sitting there crying, and then they just cut away?
Well, I mean, I think that scene, it's just like this is all just getting to him, and he just had his kid killed.
Yeah, he got his revenge, sort of. But
he wants to kill Rhaenyra.
Yeah, now it's like a back and forth, son for a son, eye for an eye.
I also enjoyed like Kristen like coming downstairs and like berating Sir Eric for not being there when it's like, bro,
where were you?
You were fucking.
Yeah, because where were you?
Yeah,
he's like, you questioning me?
Yeah.
What about him at the whorehouse with the one eye? And he's
Aemon is curled up with the
He's just like confessing all his thoughts and feelings to this like whore.
Yeah, so crazy. But
he's all like, but he's like confessing, but he's also like, Daemon thinks I'm a threat. Like he's kind of like has a little boner that like Daemon wanted to kill him.
He was actually, he kind of felt good that he would send somebody after him.
Yeah.
He's like, he actually thinks I'm a threat. Whoa.
This what's happening here is like when this is how I felt when I was watching like peak Game of Thrones, where you had like all these characters, and they all like intersect with one another, and then shit happens, and then they all react in different ways, and it like further fucks things up.
Escalates. Yes, it gets worse. It's so good. It's fucking great. They can sustain this next 6 episodes.
It's like we just talked about bad TV, and now we're talking about good TV.
Right.
Very good TV.
Just put this side by side with the Acolyte.
You know what? I think about that. Like the sets alone. Look at the set over here. Look at the set over here. But it is like the opposite of the Acolyte. It's like good character development, good writing, good everything else.
Good conflict that makes sense.
Yes. It's fucking great. And everything makes sense. It's just the opposite.
Become Disney's become the WB.
Or the or the CW kind of.
Yeah.
Where like you know what you're getting and it's never going to be like anything great.
No.
It's a fucking
I mean, even that scene you mentioned, Ruggs, where it's like you had the White Worm. She's like getting her freedom sent by Rhaenyra, but Rhaenyra doesn't fully trust her.
Yeah.
But then like as she's, getting her freedom granted, she notices like this completely side thing. Like these are like disparate storylines, but then she notices that Sir Eric was inside and now he's outside, and she's like, "Fuck, there's something going on here. I'm going to tell the queen because she let me free."
Yeah,
so like it all makes sense, but it's all like these conflicting things that happen that like by chance they saw each other, but because she was let go by Rhaenyra, like she's going to be loyal to her and let her know, hey, like. This motherfucker, I just saw his ass.
It's great. You're right. If she hadn't let her go, she wouldn't have got saved. And I really want White Worm to be fucking Rhaenyra's like console. Like she can totally help them out. I didn't want her to leave. I was like, no, you need to hire this bitch. Get her on your side. She knows everything. She's very good, White Worm. And saved her ass.
I just don't understand her accent. But
it's all over the place. I'm not sure where
whenever they do like a non-English, Irish, Scottish accent,
what is it?
I don't know where they're from.
Is it like European? It's like vaguely European.
Yeah.
It's like Balky from Meepos on Perfect Strangers. It's just a made-up fucking accent.
Would you like a lemon twist?
What is this pertaining? What is it pertaining? That's coming out soon, by the way. XLF, July 4th.
Oh, we're reviewing that.
Yeah. I seen Bronson Pinchot on the red carpet premiere, slipping into Surge, like on the red carpet. Is great. He looks great for his age.
You should, for your, was it Dancing with...
Dance of Joy.
Dance of Joy. You should just, for your last episode, you should just start sending out emails to Bronson Pinchot and be like, hey, man.
Oh my God. Every episode should be like, this is the email we sent this week. No response. And then the next one, this is what I sent this week. Still no response. I bet he would come on. What's he doing?
Why not?
I bet he does videos
DM
all the time.
Send him a DM.
I'm like afraid to, but like I feel like he would do it. I'm just going to do it.
Just do it.
I think
you should do it.
Show finale.
You should do it. Yeah.
I'm going to try to set this up. I feel like I
either
can get
the finale or like the post, finale.
After we've done the show.
Bronson.
Like it would be amazing. I think we
did 900 episodes on your fucking show.
No, we did 150. We're close. It's 150 episodes. We talked about every episode. Bronson, you got to come on. We're going to try. I'm going to tell my sister.
What is this pertaining?
What is this pertaining? It's just very nice. Ruggs, what else did you watch? Anything else of note?
So after we watched a John Hughes movie, I was like, I need to watch another Brat Pack film. I haven't watched. So I saw that St. Elmo's Fire was on streaming. I'm like, this is like the more adult version of John Hughes. This is like a little. So it's directed by Joel Schumacher.
This is a Joel Schumacher movie, also 1985.
And wow, talk about it's a bad movie.
Well,
it's
okay,
really
hold on.
bad.
Here's your cast: Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, Mare Winningham, and a young Andy McDowell. So I started watching this when you sent that note that I watched this. I was like, oh shit, let me throw this on. I hadn't seen it in a while. I got through half of it. It's not good. It's not a good movie.
Wow.
So basically, it's about adults after college, young adults in their 20s trying to assimilate into the world. Look, to their credit, Judd Nelson and Ali Sheedy play completely different characters. Like Judd Nelson plays a completely opposite character than Bender. He is like the stuck-up corporate dude. It's amazing. But I don't know. I didn't get this movie. I didn't think I got it when I first watched it years ago, and I still don't get it, Ruggs.
Yeah, it reminds me of 90210.
Yeah.
And like a teen, like an edgy teen, like hookup show where like all the friends fuck each other type thing, where like they're always this an incestuous relationship, and it's just, it doesn't quite work. I didn't understand the character motivations and how like none of these, like it just seemed like, so Rob Lowe plays, one of the through lines of the movie is Rob Lowe plays this like guy who can't be tamed. Like he's like Van Wilder. He like got out of college and he still just wants to party all the time.
He plays saxophone in a rock band, and which is when
fuck girls. But he knocked up this one girl and married her, but he constantly cheats on her and whatever. And it just, his character makes no sense. And he's constantly trying to fuck everybody. And like, at this point, like no one would be friends with you after this. Like there's no friendships that would survive all of this stupid, like the movie opens with him driving drunk and crashing his friend's car.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, this character just doesn't work.
And he's not even apologetic. Meanwhile, Emilio Estevez is like harassing this poor doctor girl. He's such an asshole.
Yeah. And there's another, so then Emilio Estevez plays this guy who's going to like law school, and he at the hospital where they go to get after the drunk driving incident, he goes to the hospital and he sees this girl he went to college with that he's obsessed with, and he just gets obsessed with her and starts like trying to meet her, like arrange meetings.
He's
and
like stalking her and shit. Yeah, it's very aggressive.
So he stalks her to the end of the world because he invited her to this party and she never showed up. So he goes to where he finds out where she is, and he drives like to this winter cabin in the woods where he is with her, and his car gets stuck, and the boyfriend's like, "Why don't you sleep in the cabin with us so you don't die?" And I'm like, that would never happen. Like, what is this movie? What the fuck is Joel Schumacher doing here? It's so bad.
Wow.
Yeah, he wrote it and directed it. Early Schumacher. Yeah, I didn't
like nothing worked in this film. Absolutely nothing worked.
I'm shocked. Brat Pack movie that wasn't good.
It's a big Brat Pack movie, but
like if you're watching it without like trying to watch a good movie, and you just want to watch people like Real Housewives of New Jersey type stuff.
It's like stuff happens, just
scandalous
stuff and gossip and people. And one guy is like in the closet, and the girl's trying to get him to come out. And
he's not in the closet.
Oh, he's not in the closet.
No. They see that they bait you into thinking that. But
I didn't fit. I still only watched half of it. I forgot.
Right. That's right.
But I was curious about it. It was fun to see all these characters in another movie, but this movie is just, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't think it was a good.
No, it was not good.
Yeah. What else did you watch, Rex?
I also watched another terrible movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
I saw it on Amazon Prime. I'm like, I've never seen this one. Threw it on. I'm like, it's 90 minutes.
Yeah.
How bad could it be?
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was.
What's it called?
Hey, listen to this. It's called The Order.
From 2001.
So Jean-Claude Van Damme plays this like playboy thief whose dad is like an archaeologist that uncovers this sacred text about this order that had it was benevolent, but then there was an offshoot that became evil and started to want to do world domination. Anyway, this existence of this script of this that they've uncovered now, like they want it for whatever reason, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes this MacGuffin that ends up Jean-Claude Van Damme having to go to Israel. So the movie takes place in Israel, and where he's in Israel, like he does a whole scene dressed up as a Hasidic Jew. He's beating up people with the payas.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
And the hat on and everything and the beard.
It's like Modest Yahoo action star.
Yeah. So it's insanely stupid. And I watched all of it, but I wanted to bail out like around the last half hour. I was like, I don't think I want to finish this. Nothing. I don't need to see anything else. But I finished it, and it was terrible.
Bro,
but it was
Charlton Heston is in this movie.
Yes, Charlton Heston is in that movie.
I can't think of anything worse than like a early 2000s Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Maybe Steven Seagal. Like that'd probably be worse. But
this is when they were.
Yeah, but Van Damme's still in shape, and everything's still got the Van Damme charm. It's just these movies are scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, this was towards the end of.
It was nice to see Israel in.
Israel.
Oh, it was nice to see Israel. Okay.
Well, I mean, in a movie,
you don't get a ton of Israel.
It's very anti-Muslim, Imran. If you ever watch,
this movie. All the bad guys are Arab Muslim terrorists. You know, they still are.
Yeah, there's a scene where Jean-Claude Van Damme is dressed up as the Hasidic Jew, and he runs into like the Muslim quarter.
Yeah,
and everybody just wants to kill him immediately. It's so terrible. Imran.
Israelis must love this movie.
You should watch it just for a laugh.
I might have to watch this. I did watch a terrible movie also, though.
I also want to watch this terrible
new terrible movie on Netflix called Trigger Warning.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Jessica Alba, and I also watched it because Anthony Michael Hall is in it. By the way, at some point, Anthony Michael Hall went through this crazy transformation. Have you guys noticed that, right?
Yeah, he's like a big dude.
Yes, he went from the skinny, meek guy to being this jacked, big dude. Like, he went away for a number of years and came back and he was huge. I was like, oh, the fuck? I almost didn't recognize him when I saw him.
He's unrecognizable.
Yeah. But Trigger Warning, Jessica Alba action movie. It is not good. It is.
I mean, you had to know. Did you watch this? You had to know. A Jessica Alba led action movie in 2024 is not going to be good.
I was going to see how bad it was, and it's pretty bad. It's filmed like a CBS episode of an extended CBS show. It feels very. It's like a long episode of like Texas Ranger or something. Texas Walker Texas Ranger, NCIS. It's just very convoluted plot. The character she plays does murder a lot of people. And her stunt double is pretty dope in parts, but yeah, it's not good. Sorry. Sure. And the title doesn't even make any sense. Like, it's just the most basic cliche title you could call anything.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I mean, there's shots where she's supposed to be outside and she's clearly in front of like a green screen and CG trucks and like, it's bad. It's bad. So that was fun.
So nothing good to watch, basically.
No, if you want to watch a bad action movie, don't waste your time with Trigger Warning. That's it, though, for this week. Ruggs, where can the people find you online?
Rug Boy Show on X. Come by, follow me, all that stuff. I don't do anything. I don't say anything.
You should come by anyway.
I just use it to like catch up on the news.
Yeah, that's the place.
Or go to the regular Jock and Nerd stuff. Go to the Facebook page.
Yeah, you can follow.
Come to our meetups, our fucking online shit, our Discord.
Anthony, where can the people find you?
You can find me inside a detention at detention on a Saturday, just because I have no friends and I just want to hang out there.
Oh, that's why Allison went. She didn't even do anything. She's like, I had nothing better to do.
I want to put cereal and pixie stick dust in my sandwich.
I will amend what I said. I was like part Brian and I was part Allison. And that's why I like those two characters. It was a little weird.
Oh,
it was a little nerdy.
Before we leave, did you guys see the coked out Justin Bieber video of him?
Right after he got out of jail and did a show.
I'm gonna have to Google that.
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Is it real? I heard that's from like years ago, and it's still good. Yeah,
maybe he looks like he's yoinked.
He like got right out of his DUI in jail and went to perform apparently or something. I don't know. Anyways. Wait, you can find me. I'm kind of moonlighting on you guys. I'm joining this my buddy Jeff over at MCU's Bleeding Edge to do Acolyte episode reviews. I'm on every even episode, so I'll be on this Wednesday.
Look at this guy, motherfucker.
I need a space to. Nobody likes the Acolyte. That's the other thing. I've talked to a bunch of people on this show. Nobody fucking likes this show. I've yet to find anybody who likes this show.
So what do you think about people who are like trying to deride people who don't like the show?
Look,
they're legitimately there's a lot of different people who don't like it.
There's some legitimate reasons to not. It's bad. So anyway,
there's a guy, the guy Star Wars Theory.
Yeah,
he does like every Star Wars thing. Yeah. He's like a huge Star Wars fan. Yeah. He cries at Star Wars sometimes, and he doesn't like the show. Yes. So now everybody's turned on him and called him like a white supremacist or something now because he doesn't like the show. Yeah, because he doesn't like a show.
Look, it's typical of Star Wars. Everybody hated the prequels, then everybody loved the prequels. Then we're going to go back to hating the prequels. So I don't know. This shit is all over the place. Anyways, we already discussed that. Thank you for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast, listener. Share the show. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
I fucking loved it.
I offered you a chance to be a cop, and you blew it!
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Jock and Nerd.
Bukaki.